You found Radio Free Tennessee. Your Tony Basilio show will begin momentarily. Keep it locked in right here at TonyBasilio.com and on your Tony Basilio app. And hey, do us a favor. Spread the word. Another award-winning, thought-provoking, action-packed edition of the Tony Basilio Show is coming up next. Tips are always appreciated here at TonyBasilio.com, home of the Tony Basilio Show. You found the Tony Basilio stream at TonyBasilio.com or on your smartphone or tablet. Another thrilling, chilling, and sometimes spilling edition of the Basilio Show is on the way next. Tips are always appreciated here at TonyBasilio.com.
WJBE 1040 AM 99.7
Let's
FM.
get
W259AB. Powell, Knoxville.
Let's get fired up. Tony Basilio, welcome you to another edition. Let's get fired up. Fired up. Tony Basilio back with you. Day after having my colonoscopy, I'd recommend that for anybody. It's preventative health. It's not very pleasant, but yet it's extremely necessary. And I'm fired up, folks. I want to personally thank Bino Jeff Henderson. Yesterday was literally and figuratively kind of a crappy day, you know. And why am I so demented when it comes to sports? Brian, neither you nor Matt Dixon were watching the NBA draft lottery. You were too busy watching your Celtics go down in flames last night to the Knickerbockers. How about that, Bri? How about that? Why don't y'all shoot a few more three balls, Bri?
The Cinco de Mayo meltdown.
What in the world, man? How many threes did y'all shoot last night? And how do you watch that?
That was an awful display of nobody moving without the ball.
No.
The ball wasn't moving.
Y'all shot 63 balls last night and made like how many? 15? That's some horrendous basketball. No offense to the NBA, but that's... Whew, no wonder those ratings are slipping. That's a bad product. Why not just put them out there and let them do a skills competition? If that's where we're going to turn the game. But then I'm watching the NHL lottery, and the NHL said, hold my beer. Because I'm watching the NHL lottery last night, and they pulled 3 ping pong balls out last night in the most convoluted lottery deal I've ever seen in my life. Matt, I would bet even a person of your intelligence wouldn't have been able to understand the the NHL lottery last night. And 1 ping pong ball remained, and the Flyers had the highest odds to get the number 1 pick. And they went from that. They went in the 4 slot last night. They ended up at number 6 when it was all said and done. And you wonder why I'm jaded, demented as a sports fan. There you have it. Today on the program, tennis anyone? Today on the program, we're going to visit with Woody and Allison O'Hada. Both teams have moved on. Bry, a sports miracle on UT's campus. While our baseball Vols were, I don't want to say cratering, but they were going through a very, very strange weekend. Woody's tennis team pulled one out for the ages, Bry.
Yeah, the baseball team couldn't come back from their deficits except for one time, but the tennis team was down 0-3, first to 4 wins. They were down 0-3 to Duke, and it got to 3-3. The guy in the decisive match was trailing 5-0, and he comes back, gets off the deck, and wins 7-5 to get the 4th point for the Vols, and they advance to beat Duke.
That just doesn't seem possible.
Astronomically impossible for that to happen the way it did.
You come from 0-3 down, which nobody ever does that in tennis, to getting to the point where you're navigable, and then in that decisive point, you go down 5-0 in a 6-game format. And then all of a sudden, what happened? You win all the games. There's just no way that happened, but that happened. So Woody will join us. Allison O'Hada will join us. A lot of good things going on. Matt Dixon, I must ask you now, our baseball team broken, Matt?
Well, they're certainly not doing anything well right now, and haven't for about a month. Kind of feels like they've had like a month-long colonoscopy, with how they're playing. I don't know what they're doing well right now. Me and Will kind of joked about it on the post-game thing Sunday, but they're obviously not hitting very well, and that's probably the biggest issue. When you look at it as a whole, but the pitching staff's not been great. They've still been pretty good. The fielding's been an issue all year. They ran into outs on the bases over the weekend, which is something they hadn't typically done much this year. And, you're kind of where you are. And I think you're 9-9 overall since they had that run rule no-hitter against A&M.
I went back and looked at it. They are not the same team since the run rule game. And something I'll share with you, I was thinking about this today, because I did some research last night. Fired up, focused, and prepared on some Michael's Milk last night. I did some research and went back in the current format, going back to 1999 Miami when they won the national championship, and how did the national champion fare the next year? We'll break that down in total on the blog over at tclub.team tomorrow. But I went back, and because that Aggie series is a real line of demarcation in this season for some reason. The day Tennessee got punched in their mouth, Matt, that's what Tennessee in this run of Tony Vitello baseball has done to other teams. For some reason, that was spirit breaking for this team. And I had a thought. Their hitting has been so pedestrian that they're not even run rolling, Matt, these Tuesday night teams anymore. Like they have a Tuesday game tonight. They're not even scoring runs in these games. they've been really pedestrian offensively for some time now. We've got to face this. They're not even hitting home runs in their building. And their building is built to hit home runs in.
Yeah, it typically is. The home run powers kind of disappeared during this stretch. They've hit 34 home runs in 24 SEC games. So that's and just a handful over the last 2 or 3 series, and the majority of those have kind of come in not necessarily garbage innings, but when the game was long decided. You like the Cannon Peoples home run, in game 3, like that's the only run of the game, but you're down 6-0 at that point. So you're just not having timely hits. You're not having big hits. You're just not. Again, you're not really doing anything well. I've been looking at some numbers, comparing them to past teams. The last 4 or 5 Tennessee teams, and it's going to be the worst offensive team they've had in league play, I think, by a considerable margin. And then you pair that with a not elite pitching staff that tends to, you give up free bases all the time, throw a lot of wild pitches, can't get a ton of strikeouts, so balls are in play with the shaky defense. And it all just kind of just snowballs on them. And now they're to a point where they have no confidence, and it's really probably more mental than anything at this point.
I went back and watched Tony's media opportunity after the game the other day. And I have not talked to Tony since the weekend. But the thing that I'm left with is he knew this team wasn't as good as their start. He came on here and told us that. And one thing about Tony is he doesn't snow you. When they were number 1, he said, look, we're not as good as you think we are. We're just not. Now, I don't know if they were expecting this. Surely they weren't expecting this. Brian, since the A&M game, okay? Since the A&M game, Tennessee has played the 2 games in that series, that Friday night, that doubleheader the next day, and then 12 more games. So they've played 14 total games. What's their record, Brian, the 14 games? How many wins they have? What do you think? You want to hear an alarming stat? With Vanderbilt and Arkansas on the way here, you want to hear an alarming number? Go ahead, Brian. What do you think it is? 14 games. How many wins?
They took 2 out of 3 against Mississippi, and then they lost 2 out of 3 to Kentucky. So 4 and 5. They're 5 and
9.
7.
5 and 9.
5 and 9.
14 games. How, Matt Dixon, is this team capable of going 5 and 9 against that competition? Is that humanly possible, Matt? That baseball team, after that Friday night, we're talking about a no-hitter, a no-hit run rule game. I mean, if Marv Albert himself was here, he'd go, facial! I mean, it was an absolute facial. A facial. Talk to me here, Dixon. How is that possible that they're 5 and 9?
Well, it just kind of, everything's gone wrong, and this is the worst a Tony Vitello team has played over any kind of stretch, since pre-COVID. You can kind of, you can explain some of them away. I mean, A&M's really talented and got hot on a doubleheader day. The LSU, you really outplayed them for 2 of the 3 games, and you gave one away. This whole deal with Auburn was a weird, fluky deal that got off to an awful start, where you, for whatever reason, burned Doyle for an inning in the first game. The only one that's probably the most alarming, and the one that really could bother fans is that Kentucky series here, especially that Sunday game, where you let all their chants and all that kind of just beat you and run away from you in a rubber game that you showed no fight in. And that one's really the one that really still stands out to me, is a typical Tony Vitello team doesn't lose that game. And usually would come back and run rule a team like that. But they kind of showed no fight in that game and let Kentucky do all their deals and beat them here.
I was sitting in here with VIP Play Will the other day as you guys were preparing for your program, and I was preparing for my prep. That's another story for another day. But Will was very angry before he got on the air, and he kind of calmed himself down. I wish he'd been as angry as he was before he jumped on the air, but one of the things he said, Matt, is these guys don't understand momentum. Sean Sinclair said something interesting. He did not like the way they celebrated like it was the 7th game of the World Series after they won that game. Ripping off Newstrom's jersey. He did not think, Matt, that was a portending of things to come. In other words, they were not businesslike when they won that game. Hey, this is just one. We're going to get the next one. We'll celebrate after the next one. He thought that was very odd. How about you?
I did too, and I mentioned it, Pope. On the show, they celebrated way too much to be the defending national champion and walk off a team in a game that you were lucky to get the extras despite having base runners and being the better team. But no, I thought the way they celebrated was a little too much, and especially with how flat they came out. 45 minutes later, and we're just uninspired. And then you get down 4-0 in the 3rd inning, and it felt like it was over, and it was. So I agree with Cinco there. I noticed that in the moment, it felt like they celebrated a little too much.
Matt texted me and said, "Hey, this feels like a turning point in the season." When they got that second game, because they had no business getting that second game. Vols had no business winning that second game. Now, they should have won the game. Like, if they would have been knocking their runs in, they would have scored. They left like 25 guys on base over the 3 games. And in that game, they left double-digit runners on base. But I was listening to Redmond Walsh talk about that. He's like, at some point, these guys are going to have to get a hit. I mean, at some point, the law of averages say that you're going to knock a guy in. And whatever it is, through 75 or 80% of this season, this team does not have it. Now I'm going to ask you at 865-200-5402. And then we'll have a guest coming up here in about 20 or so. But in the next segment, I want to take some calls. Are you worried about this baseball team? Are you worried? Or are they still going to wake up and get back to being who they can be, which is to say, who can this team be? Well, I'm going to ask Matt and Brian that on the other side. Who can this team be? If they wake back up, who can this team be? I'll tell you this right now. If this team makes it to a super regional, okay, I think that would be an accomplishment for them from here. I just keep it real. Look, I get behind this microphone every day, and I give you my opinion, for better or for worse. And this team right now is doing nothing well. They're not getting any swing and miss out of their bullpen. They look flat. They don't field the ball particularly well. Even when they get a hit that should break the seal in some of these games, you had the Hunter Ensley play where I don't know what he was doing. Was he watching the ball? I don't know. But he gets thrown out at second base, so they kill their own rallies. To this point, they're a goofy base running team. They're not exactly fielding it very well. They are not particularly pitching it very well, and their hitting is atrocious. But other than that, it's going really well for them. Since that no-hitter that night, on that Friday night, and I was driving back from my gig, and I kid you not, and here was my thought. Tony, how are we going to keep this interesting for the rest of the year if these guys continue to do what they're doing? That was my thought. If these guys run away with this season, people are going to lose interest. Little did I know that not only were they not going to run away, they borderline cratered. which is very strange. And I know it's just baseball, and I know it's still there. Is it still there? Is it still there? I don't know. We'll come back on the other side. You tell me. I've come to the conclusion if these guys get to a super regional from here, it will be an accomplishment for them. Because they got a lot of issues. A lot of issues. And look, one thing you'll see in the blog tomorrow, I went back and did the research. If they get to a super regional, they will be in the top half of the 24 teams that have won a national championship since 99. They'll be in the top half. That'll be a top half accomplishment for the following season for those teams. Generally speaking, in that sport, when you win a national championship, that next year, you're not going to get back there. That's been the form. I'll share that with you at some point, but it'll be on the blog tomorrow. I go season by season, record by record. Took the time, did some research. We continue with more on the other side. As we bring it back, it is your Tuesday edition TGMD, the great Matt Dixon in the house. We continue with more after this.
Jeff Hall here. I'm a partner at Rather & Kittrell Capital Management. And here at Rather & Kittrell, we understand that life is full of transitions. Since 2000, our team of dedicated certified financial planners has been helping individuals, families, and businesses navigate these changes with confidence. From comprehensive wealth management to tailored retirement plans, we're committed to guiding you toward a secure financial future. Ready to take the next step? Visit rkcapital.com or call us at 865-218-8400 to start your journey today. Rather & Kittrell is a registered investment advisor.
Out-of-town law firms have been swarming into East Tennessee lately. From Memphis, Chattanooga, and Birmingham, they've stormed into the area. Wouldn't you rather do business with a local firm? You know, a true neighbor. Marco Scarza and the pros at the Garza Law Firm are just that. There are neighbors and friends that support local causes year-round. The Garza Law Firm works to serve you professionally on criminal matters, injuries and accident matters, and Social Security and disability filings. The Garza Law Firm is here for you at garzalaw.com. The Garza Law Firm. Let us help.
Are you stuck in a dead-end job or ready for a new challenge? Do you feel like it's time to try a new career? Well, it's time to change lanes with TLD Logistics. My friends at TLD Logistics have some really exciting opportunities for you to learn a new skill. With a new 5-acre driving academy that's now under new leadership with all new course material. And the best part, it's absolutely free. What a great deal to set you on the road to higher pay. And TLD Logistics even offers weekly stipends to offset food and gas expenses. In 6 weeks' time, you could complete this course and be in compliance with FMCSA regulations. Then you're ready for the open road of opportunity. What are you waiting for? It's time to change lanes with TLD Logistics. Visit tldlogistics.com. That's tldlogistics.com. TLD Logistics.
A lime is not always just a lime. You see, some limes are lucky. For when a lime joins the salted rim of a crisp, refreshing Tres Dos Equis, that lime is no longer a mere lime, but a wedge of renowned Mexican limón. Muchas gracias, limón. And also, de nada. Enjoy Dos Equis responsibly. Copyright 2024 Dos Equis, imported by Cervezas Mexicanas, White Plains, New York.
Hi there, Basilio crew. Jennifer Morris here with Keller Williams Realty. If you're thinking about selling your home, I've got good news for you. The East Tennessee and Knoxville areas are projected to have another strong year. I'll be happy to talk with you about the latest and greatest info you need. So give me a call at 865-694-5904 or contact me at nextmovesmokymountains.com. Hope to hear from you soon and go Vols.
Josh Collins at Collins Insurance Agency. At Collins Insurance, we strive to ensure our customers receive better coverage along with bigger savings. Our community is important to us. We want to provide exceptional service to our customers. Anybody can provide great rates, great coverage, but can you also get great service? And hey, don't just take my word for it.
What's up, everybody? Zakai Ziegler here. My family turns to Collins Insurance Agency for the best service, coverage, and price.
So don't just go online and get some random insurance. Experience the Collins Insurance difference.
Like he said, experience the Collins Insurance difference. CollinsInsuranceTN.com. CollinsInsuranceTN.com. And hey, their Mama ZZ approved. CollinsInsuranceTN.com. Thank you to Josh Collins and ZZ.
One more thing, Tony. Go Vols!
Preparing food for a big gathering can really take it out of you. That's why you need to call Calhoun's and check out their selection of party platters. Whether you're hosting a party for the big game, a reunion, or just an everyday gathering, a Calhoun's party platter is next level. Choose from Calhoun's always excellent chicken tenders, fly with Calhoun's wings, or boneless wings with a variety of dipping sauces, award-winning next-level melt-in-your-mouth barbecue ribs, or delicious spinach artichoke dip, or get one of each. Plus, if you're doing burgers or sandwiches, Calhoun's has lots of side dishes like spinach Maria, baked cinnamon apples, Smoky Mountain baked beans, or creamy coleslaw. Available in pints, quarts, and gallons. And to finish things off, pick up one of Calhoun's great desserts to go, including homemade cheesecake or key lime pie. Calhoun's, simply your go-to party headquarters. With 9 locations all over East Tennessee, you can order online and just pick it up. Calhoun's, one of the Copper Cellar family of restaurants, along with Chesapeake's, Copper Cellar, Corner 16, Cherokee Grill, and Smoky Mountain Brewery. Eat local, eat good. Tony B back with you, 865-200-5402 if you want to get hunting in the mix with us. Talking with the lads during the break here, I did some research. You know, teams that win the whole thing, and then the next year, in all these sports, it's very difficult to repeat. This Tennessee team was, I mean, they were smoking. They were smoking. But the question I have to ask is, early in the year, was it smoke and mirrors? Was it schedule dependent? How do you go from A&M Friday night, a no-hit, run-roll shutout, and then you know you're coming back the next day and you're going to beat that team silly? And they got punched in the mouth in that first game, and I mean tell you, they have not recovered. Really weird. And in the moment, I told a couple friends, relax, man, it's just baseball. But when you go 4 or 5 series in a season like this, now it should be pointed out, and then we'll go to the phones at 865-200-5402, that this thing really is a tournament sport. The year that Mississippi won it, Matt, I was looking at this. They were the last seed, I want to say, in the Miami Regional. They barely snuck into the NCAA tournament that year. Tennessee went to their building, swept them early in the year. It sent them on just a path of disaster, kind of like the one we're on right now. And they were able to somehow get their bearings under them, and they were able to somehow stabilize. So this thing, Matt, a lot like basketball, is a tournament sport. You're defined by what you do in that tournament. I mean, I know people don't want to hear that right now, but that is the truth.
Yeah, and especially I think we can say Tennessee's at the point of as a program where the postseason is what they're judged by.
Yeah.
So obviously you want to position yourself well, but I mean, with how much Tennessee's won recently, both regular season and postseason, what you do at the end is kind of all that matters. So it's impossible to play worse than they have been, and they've still had plenty of chances to win a bunch of these games.
Oh, man.
And again, they outplayed LSU for 17 and a half innings the first 2 days. And, not winning that Friday night game is going to be, it's going to always be painful. But, you won 2 or 3 at Ole Miss, which was a very juiced up place. They set record attendances. So I don't know. It's weird that this team just doesn't play well at home.
The weather made last weekend feel not meant to be. It's made the whole season feel like that to me, Brian. Just that whole uneven weather Look, we played the other night, had a really, really fun time. Shout out to my friends at Avalon. We had an incredible time partying down with them Friday night with your Fountain City Ramblers. But when I was driving to that gig, that lightning and that thunder and those storms and that fork lightning above was popping and ripping. And then when I heard that the game was delayed, I thought, well, there's no way in the world, like you did, they're playing this game. And Matt Dixon's account of that, it almost feels, Bri, like the whole thing this weekend was just not meant to be. Like, hey, some things are meant to be, and this weekend was just not meant to be.
Your ace has to go out there. He gives up a home run that really wasn't, and you're behind right away, and Auburn's pitcher didn't have to pitch, so he could start when they resumed, whereas Doyle got hot, and then he had to sit for however long. And then the next day they have to resume it. So that even further exasperates it.
Hey, Matt, what happened to these lightning delay deals where if it's within 200 square miles or whatever of course I'm being facetious here, but not by far.
No, it's not by much. I don't know.
Are you telling me there was visible lightning in that baseball stadium and they were still out there playing?
The sky was lighting up all around. And I don't know how close it was, but it was obviously within that radius. Plus, it was the hardest it had rained all day. I mean, it was just pouring rain. And they, for whatever reason, decided to start the game. I mean, you have about 15 or 20 minutes before the game to that you need for your starter and Doyle to kind of get hot and get ready. But, I mean, there was no way they were going to play at all, much less right at that moment. And that was probably the worst time of the day to try to play in a day that you really shouldn't have played it. You really had no chance of playing at all. And you forced your way into playing half an inning that just blew up in your face.
Tony, they should have started at 1 o'clock or something very early.
That was my take.
Play at all.
Just like the Lady Vols did. It wasn't televised anyway. And by the way, did the TV networks know something, Matt, when they made that schedule out in hindsight? Their TV schedule, how little the defending national champion's been featured on television?
Well, no, because for whatever reason, they put Missouri on about as much as Tennessee, and Missouri's
total embarrassment.
I mean, they're the only team that's playing a lot.
Let's get Missouri on a few more times. What were you saying, Matt? I'm sorry.
I think all 3 games this weekend are on TV.
Well, these
might be a bad thing.
These are must-see games. When you get the Vandy boys are what got the party started for me in my brain. That's when the sport got real to me. When Tony's team said no to them.
Well, the 23 team turned their season around against Vandy.
Yes, they did. Yes, they did.
So, but I don't know if there's a Dylan Dreiling and Kavaris Tears to give you those huge at bats on this team. As sad as it is to say,
maybe
those guys came off the bench for that team.
Maybe Newstrom does it.
Newstrom, Levi Clark, maybe.
Yeah. Or our guy last week, Grimmer. Maybe they throw Grimmer in there. Grimmer and Newstrom back-to-back Friday night. Break little Billy Derrick's heart. Let's go to the phones. Billy Derrick, you're a clown if you're listening. I know you are. You're monitoring all things Tennessee sports right now. On your TLD Logistics hotline, let's go to the phones. Are you concerned about this team, or is this season what this season is at this point? Because I did some research last night. I'm coming to the conclusion that if this team gets to the Super Regional round, it'll be a nice accomplishment for this group. Anything past that is gravy. Because that is what the numbers say. That is what the numbers say. The exceptions to the rules are the ones that go back to Omaha. In the past 24 years in the current format, it is really hard to get back after you win a national championship. Really hard. It's hard to get to a super regional after you win a national championship. I'll have that stuff up on the blog tomorrow over at tclub.team. Today, Matt Dixon reigned supreme there, as well as a few thoughts about the way these quarterbacks move around at the top of the sport, and a few other things. The sport of college football, that is. Let's go to our TLD Logistics phone line. Hello and welcome in. You're on the air. Hi, welcome in.
To answer your question, yes. Obviously concerned. The caveat would be we're coming off a national championship, so it seems like it's getting a little greedy to complain about too much.
Amen, brother. I'm not complaining. Amen.
I think you guys were kind of nibbling at it. I mean, probably the worst thing to happen, definitely to our fan base and maybe to that dugout, was for them to start 20-0 and be the number one team in the country there.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Our building does not have an edge right now for whatever reason. I don't know what we talked last week about the student section, and that's fine and well and good, and I do believe that's something. But it's almost like there's an expectation / complacency around the deal right now instead of a hunger, which I guess happens when you win it and win as much as we have, right?
I think that's right. I think some of that's just the yin and yang, too, of sports karma, I guess. But, you know, one thing, you guys have nailed kind of all the reasons why we're struggling. And some of these, you know, the poor fielding, the over-aggressive base running, the allowing runners on base just to move at will, like some of those have been present in this program in years past, but the great equalizer has always been the long ball. Mm-hmm. And, you know, and that's kind of the identity of this program, whether we like it or not. And the reality is they're just not hitting the ball out of the park, and they're not hitting the ball hard like they have the past several years. And that's always what made up for other deficiencies with this program.
You know, that's a really good point. Hey, Matt, I saw Auburn smoke several balls over the weekend. I'm not sure how many balls Tennessee hit that I would call hard-hit baseballs, Matt. I mean, that's a really good thought he has. It's been
They had a couple of lineouts right at guys, and they've had, over the last couple of games, they've had a couple of balls hit the wall, but it's valid. The home run power is just kind of gone. I mean, even the ones that get out are just, you know, barely getting out. You're not, you know, clearing the scoreboard or clearing the porches with them. And your guys have just really struggled here with hitting, and I mean hitting in general, but especially home runs, because that's, like the caller said, that's the, at the end of the day, that's what wins in baseball right now is getting home runs.
And to your point on the phone, my sense of the imperfections of college baseball to me are what makes it such an interesting sport. Like I was watching Vanderbilt in Alabama the other Sunday when I was listening to Will and Matt talk, and on Garza Law extra innings, which will come your way, following the series conclusion of the Vanderbilt game, and those guys are doing a terrific job on that post-game show. Hey, praise God, I don't have to be in there. We're growing a program, and Will's really taken to it, and Matt's been great with him. Here's the thing. All Alabama has to do is field the ball in the ninth inning, and they win the game. And they open the door with a walk and an error. So these imperfections are present with every team. The difference is, like you're saying, in years past, those imperfections don't get us. This time, every mistake we make is coming around to score. And every mistake we make on the base paths is taking us out of these innings. Every single time. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Well, just the feeling's different. I mean, I'm at most home games, and, you know, being at the first game Saturday and game 3 on Sunday, you know, game 3 on Sunday gets to be 4-0. And in years past, it was kind of like, okay, well, you know, they punch first, but here comes our counter punch. But with this team, I was sitting there with my friends and our kids, and we just said, hey, look, 3 or 4-0 is a big deal to this team all of a sudden. And I don't know. It's been a weird couple weeks, obviously, with the late ninth inning in Baton Rouge, and then this weather crap in Game 1 against Auburn, which I guess it really doesn't matter at this point, but just seems like it was horribly mismanaged by somebody that just seemed to get the weekend started on on a wrong note. Tony, I could see it going either way. I mean, if you want to tell me this team finishes 1-5 in the SEC and we were a 2 seed out in Tucson or Corvallis, I can totally see that. But I think if they can push back against Vandy this weekend and take 2 or 3, then we can recapture some momentum and hopefully start hitting the baseball at the right time of year.
Yeah, that's right. I think that's a fair and measured. The thing you said though that sticks with me is when it got 4-0 and you're in that condensed game Sunday, the game was over. Now I don't know when the last time is I felt that way watching a Tennessee baseball game. Vanderbilt came from 5 down in the 8th inning the other night. That game was 7-2. That game was over. And generally that's how college baseball goes. We see these big swings. We're not seeing big swings with us right now because we're not generating any offense. It's just a strange. That series over the weekend, we got off the wrong foot. My information is they got some information from National Weather Service that there was a window there. They decided to start the game. Nobody else saw the window. They did. I have no idea. Obviously, it's not a good decision to do that. Hindsight's always 20/20. Obviously, you're better off keeping your powder dry and living to fight another day. But it is what it is at this point. But that set the tone, man, because that Saturday deal, right from the beginning till the end of that deal, when Bargo had to hit that home run in the rain just to get us to Sunday to a suspended game. How bizarre is that? 2 suspended games in a row that lagged into the next day, and then winning on Sunday like Will was right. Will Heflin was right. How about no momentum carried into Game 3? 0 momentum.
None whatsoever.
None.
I would have guaranteed you. I mean, I thought when Newstrom walked it off, I said, we're about to come back out here
and run roll
and absolutely run roll these guys.
Sure. Jim
and
Peters.
AJ's first 2 innings looked really solid, but, man, it's just the way this team's been this year.
TLD Logistics, Jim Peters called me and said, man, because I'm not going to lie to you, I was sitting in the park playing music, clearing my head, and listening to the game. I was listening to Wilkerson, and Peters says to me, he says, man, we're getting ready to run roll these guys. This is getting ready to happen. You can feel it. And Matt texted me and said, that feels like a turning point in the season, but these guys just don't, I don't know what it is, man. I don't know. It's not that they're not good enough. They're obviously good enough, but they don't have like oomph. I don't know what am I trying to say here? What doesn't this team have? There's something missing here.
They're soft. I mean, it's a soft team. Let's be honest. Tony, last thing I'll say, I hope Tony V and Frank and all these guys stick around forever. I'd give them lifetime contracts. They will turn it around this year or next. I have zero doubt. But Tony needs to stick to baseball because he is not very good at meteorology. I'll see you.
Tony Balls! Let's bring Chris Lee in now. Ladies and gentlemen, Southeastern 16, you will follow them over on YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. Tony Basilio Show. We're back up on YouTube doing our thing as well. Chris Lee, well, you've seen a lot of baseball, brother. This SEC season is pretty darn bizarre, Chris, as I welcome you in.
Tony, we could go from now to midnight and talk about it. I am fascinated with what's happened and what is ahead.
What's the most surprising thing in the league so far for you? If you give me a couple bullet points here. The year of surprises in the league is you joining our TLD Logistics hotline. Shout out Jim Peters and Kevin Herman out at TLD Logistics. Go ahead.
I think Texas's early dominance was a shock. I mean, Texas was supposed to be middle of the pack, and look, some of it has been scheduling. I mean, they played. Gosh, the toughest opponents have been LSU, Georgia, and Auburn, and A&M. All those have been at home. The only really hard series they've had is at Arkansas. I mean, and a lot of baseball can be explained by scheduling, right? Like if you remember that,
yep.
That will explain a lot of stuff. But I think still, I mean, this is the stat of the year. South Carolina is the only team in the country, I think, without a loss in Quad 2, Quad 3, and Quad 4. And they've won 5 games in the SEC, and they're not going to sniff the NCAA tournament. That is how tough this league is outside of Missouri, and I think Carolina's thrown in the towel. I don't know that it's a surprise, Tony, but the overall, I think the SEC in baseball right now, and I can only speak for men's sports, in the 3 I cover. So softball, that kind of stuff, forget it because I just don't know it. We talked about how tough the SEC was in basketball this year. I think this is the hold my beer situation for baseball. I think that the league is better in baseball than it was in basketball, and I don't think it's particularly close. I think you have a bunch of teams that could all, you might have 10 teams that can not only get to Omaha but win it all. I just think the league is so freaking good right now, and I think a lot of people ascribe that instead of seeing it that way. They go and look at their team and their flaws and say, my team sucks.
That's
There's
right.
no hope.
That's what we're doing.
Whatever.
That's what we're doing.
And look,
right.
Vanderbilt fans have been doing the same thing.
Right.
It is such a meat grinder. Like if you look at the RPI right now, it is dominated by the SEC and the ACC. I mean, I'm trying to put together a bracket, and you really have to work to justify more than 2 or 3 other teams outside the league hosting that are outside those 2 leagues because the metrics are so unbelievably strong. I mean, I could go on, but I think the overall strength of the league, I think you have 14 teams that right now deserve to be in the NCAA tournament. Any of them could do damage if they got to the postseason. It is just, I don't think people understand how good the league has been. I've followed it for over 20 years. The league has always been great in baseball, but the last 2 years I've never seen anything like this.
And Tennessee's seen it this year. Tennessee has gone through a spell here where they're playing themselves, which happens in the sport, and you're fighting yourself. Hey, Kentucky's good enough to get you. Auburn is much improved over last year, and they're always well coached, and both those clubs are very good at what they do. The Ole Miss team that Tennessee won a series against is certainly capable. LSU, we knew, has great firepower. Texas A&M came in here with, I guess, 1 win. They were down and out. They got run ruled, no hit on a Friday night, and turned right around and smacked Tennessee in the face twice. Yeah. And they've been 7. I think they've gone like 7-5 since then, including a sweep with Texas in 3 close games. So the point is well taken from my perspective. What other surprises in the league, and where does Tennessee rank? Because I know you're a man of history. I looked this up last night just out of curiosity. I sat there for like 90 minutes and did some research on past teams that won the World Series. What do they do the next year? The truth is, 24 teams, half of those teams don't even get back to a super regional. Half of them.
Yeah.
I mean, that is the stone cold fact of this deal.
Well, look, I mean, Ole Miss and Mississippi State won the whole thing. Nobody thinking after what they saw in the league either year that they won it, that they would win it. And then the next year, I think neither of them made Hoover the next 2 years. The State didn't make Hoover the next 2 years. I mean, everybody but 2 teams goes to Hoover. And I know Ole Miss missed it once, and it might have been twice. I mean, it is just, and Vanderbilt fans are having trouble understanding the same thing. They think that once you line up and you just steamroll teams, the way both programs have done for a while, that it just should continue forever, and they don't understand when it doesn't continue forever. And I think the part they really don't understand is a lot of how much what you see is based on the talent in that other dugout. Now, look, Tennessee's got some issues, right? The fielding, the stolen base issues with Phillips on the mound. I've watched them play, and I know what they are. But they've also got a lot of talent. I mean, there may be 4 guys that hear their name called in the first round this year on that roster.
Yeah, you're right. I don't know, like the Curly kid. Hey, Matt, how much does pro ball hold against Curly, the stretch of baseball he's playing right now, versus the raw physical skills, Matt Dixon, that he has? I mean, it's going to be very interesting, isn't it, if this continues for him?
Yeah, a lot of it's going to depend on how his season ends. I mean, he could have 1 or 2 really good weekends in the postseason, and basically, that could mask all that everything that's happened. But no, I definitely think he's a guy who, I don't think he's anywhere close to a top half of the first round guy, but the back half of that supplemental stuff is probably where he is probably going to go now. But no, he's just been struggling through it. So, but Chris, what can this Vanderbilt team exploit on Tennessee? I mean, I know they steal some bases. They never rely on it, but it's kind of a typical Vandy team where it's really pitching and defense heavy, and the offense kind of is just enough. But where do you think Vanderbilt can exploit Tennessee at?
I think it would look a lot like the Kentucky series, where they're running a lot. They got a lot of speed on that lineup, top to bottom. Rustin Rigdon and R.J. Austin are 2 guys that could just fly. They got to get on base. And Austin particularly has struggled this year. I think he's been playing hurt. He's been playing better lately, and so I wonder maybe if he's getting well. But I think it's that. They strike out a ton of guys. I think they lead the country in strikeouts, or they're close. So, you gotta make contact. Now, they also give up some hard contact at times. They give up a few home runs. You got a couple of guys that'll leave the ball in the air. But I mean, I think for Vanderbilt, they've done it by power pitching. Their defense is tremendous. They've got Jonathan Vastine, who's as good a shortstop and defensively as there's in the country. Next to him, you got Brody Johnson at third, who's really their next shortstop and plays third like a shortstop. Austin and center just can cover a ton of ground. So they can frustrate you by taking away hits that a lot of other teams don't. And that they get on base, they will bunt, they will run. Sometimes they don't put the ball in play enough or don't put it in play enough with hard contact. But, the power started to come for them a little bit too. They hit, 3 home runs over their last 4 outs against Alabama. Tennessee does a pretty good job of keeping the ball in the park, although they've struggled with that a little bit more lately. But I mean, I think it's the Kentucky blueprint, I think, is the most likely one that you're looking for if Vanderbilt comes out winning that series.
It's so interesting because like a month ago, it looked like Vandy was scuffling and Tennessee was heading for another steamroll season. What particular has happened for Vanderbilt as they've enjoyed this pace that they've played at? And I was looking at Sunday's game, and boy, they really pulled one out. They showed a lot of character in that comeback, man, because really, they looked dead in the water at one point.
Well, lesson number 1, and I heard you guys talking about it. There's a saying in baseball that momentum is only as good as the next day starting pitcher. That's number 1. Number 2, kids do not process games the way we do. You see a team like an Auburn, lose a game like that. Everybody just says, Tennessee's got all the momentum. Auburn probably feels like, Tennessee just stole one. It can be demoralizing. You see Tennessee, celebrating in right field and high as a kite, and then none of that mattered in game 2. And I think for Vanderbilt, I go back and look, and I remember Tennessee was just thumping anybody and everybody to start the season. And look, I think Tennessee is, when it all goes well, an elite baseball team. There's no question about that. But I've always said, you don't really find that out by playing Hofstra and some teams like that. And I'm not trying to pick on Tennessee here, right? Because a lot of teams play really easy non-conference schedules. But I think putting up, a bunch of runs against some of those teams, it's like trying to take what kind of major league hitter you're going to be by looking at what you hit against rookie league pitching, right? And Vanderbilt, in the meantime, was playing a lot of really good teams. maybe not elite teams, but really good teams. I mean, I think you could look back at the end of the season and say that they played an NCAA tournament team, at least one of them every weekend. And maybe two in some of these classics that they played in with Nick's teams. And I think even St. Mary's, I could see them getting hot. When I say NCAA tournament team, I mean a team that's good enough to get a 3 at large or better. And I could see St. Mary's winning the WCC tournament. And that would mean they played an NCAA tournament team every weekend. I think Vanderbilt really tested itself early and found out like where the holes were. It got some guys experience. And I've seen a lot of Tim Corbin teams where they do that and they look very ordinary. And you get in Park and the fans are going, I don't even know if this is a tournament team. But sometimes you've got to be tested for it to come out okay on the other side. And I think Tennessee's going through some of that right now, whereas maybe the early part of the season, and again, a lot of that's a credit to Tennessee for being that good, but they weren't tested, and you just don't know until you're up against it. And I think that's a big difference in where both the teams are right now. It's
really amazing, man, that we're here. You know, the sport of baseball, by and large, one of the things I love about it is that the target's always moving. It's a thing at any of these levels. It's such an interesting game from that respect. Just when you think you have it figured out, it changes the questions on you. Why do you think, and we were talking about this before, we touched on it offhand, why do you think in this sport in particular that it's so difficult when you win it one year to come back and win it again? Whereas in basketball, it seems like it's easier. When you just look at the last 25 years, it's a little easier to repeat in basketball. Or maybe even in football, you can kind of keep it together. But in this sport of baseball, it's very difficult to stack those two magical seasons on top of each other. Why do you think that is?
Well, there's a lot of reasons. First of all, there's a dumb luck element to baseball. You know, you can have the bases loaded with 2 out in the ninth, and the game in the balance, you're down 3, and you hit one, you crush one to dead center, and if there's no wind, it's going out. And if there's a 10-mile-an-hour wind blowing in, it might keep it in the ballpark, and it might dive, a foot in front of the warning track. I mean, and that's a 4-run difference on one play. So that's part of it. I think number 2, the rosters are bigger, right? So it's not like basketball where you just land 1 or 2 studs and you can make a run at it. Baseball's a lot different. You got to have at least a minimum, 6, 7, 8 really good arms, and a couple of those need to be great if it's only 6, 7, or 8. Not to mention the other 8 guys you put on the field. And number 3, I think, and this is the big thing. Like Tony, you watched college football this year, right? The era of Georgia and Alabama just lining up and just obliterating whoever they're playing. And when we get to the title game and they're facing Notre Dame or whoever, and the only question is, are they going to cover, 14 points or are they not? That's over, man. You saw that last year. You saw that with Tennessee going to Ohio State, which had just gotten beat by Michigan. And then Ohio State but they were an 8 seed, right? And you had no idea what was going to happen in the college football playoff. Everything has gotten more competitive because of the portal, the extra eligibility rules. The league has gone all in on baseball, football, basketball, other than Missouri and baseball. And when everybody's doing that, and you're looking up, and you could say, "Hey, I could argue, that maybe 8 or 9 of the top 12 teams in the country are all from the SEC." All those things factor in.
And it's very easy, like you're saying, when you're beating on each other, and boy, Tennessee's really taken their lumps. And Vanderbilt was used to dominating, like you were talking about before. And their fans were like, hey, what in the world happened to our program? And you could look up at the end of the year, and they're back in Omaha just as easily as some of these other teams. And the crazy thing is that you don't realize that once you get out of playing these teams every day and get into some cruising altitude, it's a different world out there, which I guess is your sort of takeaway message here, right?
Absolutely. You can boil a lot of things down to scheduling or sometimes bad luck. And I remember coming on your show 2 years ago before Vanderbilt went to Knoxville, and you guys just all sounded like the world was about to end and they weren't going to make a regional. And I said to you, look, I still look at talent, and you look at what they can throw out there in their pitching. And I don't remember that staff had Burns and a couple Beam and a couple of other dudes and some guys on the back end, and they had Kirby Connell, who I think they really missed a guy like that this year. But and I did the same thing with A&M. Like, a lot of A&M's talent hadn't changed. Now, they lost their third baseman, but they had Caden Sorrell out for a lot of the year, and you're like, okay, you can still piece this back together with their offense and their starting pitching and find a path for it to work out. I remember saying that to you, like, I don't know where it's going to go for sure, but I still look at their team, and they still got a lot of talent. And, Tennessee just kind of, hit it hot that weekend and kind of ran Vanderbilt out of the building. I still think it's a really talented team. I think they've got more flaws than some of their last few great teams had, but they've also got a lot of power, and they've got some really good power arms, and Doyle's almost impossible to hit most times. And I still, is it a flawed team? Yeah, it is. But it's still a really talented team, and I think when you have that as part of your makeup, there's still a ton of possibilities on the table. Going to Omaha, making a run, all still there for them. It's all possible. We'll just have to see how it goes.
Chris, if folks want to follow, see more from you as you cover the league, and boy, I'll tell you, with all this portal stuff and all this crazy stuff that goes on in football and all these sports, the fun never ends. Where do they see you? Give out the coordinates.
Yeah, go to YouTube. Just search Southeastern 16. We're doing baseball. We're doing reactions either after all the games or when most of them are wrapping up on Thursday nights, Friday nights, Saturday nights, and Sunday nights in the SEC. Those are live. You can hear us react to what has happened and what is going on live. We do a Monday morning power rankings live, which we did yesterday. And here in about 13 minutes, I am going to do, I've got a bracket, a field of 64 regional projections that we're going to unveil. And we're not just going to pair the teams up. I'm going to tell you, okay, who's still got work to do, who's locked up this, who's locked up that, and give some context to what teams are doing. So you can find us there. You can find us on any of your audio platforms. And I hope folks will check us out.
Do you have the Vols hosting a regional right now?
I do. And I will reveal where that is in a few minutes. But they are interesting because they've got some work to do.
No doubt.
But they've also
they can still host a super
really
regional.
Good metrics too.
That's right.
So there's also that.
It's weird. They got work to do to host a regional, and if they win enough games in the next 2 weekends and go to Hoover and do a little work, they could still host a super regional, right? That's very strange.
Yeah, no, it's going to be tough, right? They go to Arkansas right now in a couple of weeks, and that's the last place I want to go.
No.
And they've kind of owned Vandy and Knoxville lately, but there are some elements to the matchup. I mean, I think there's about as much variability with Tennessee right now in terms of those teams that can host, and I would bet that they host. I would still bet on that. But the range of where that could that be, 14, 15, 16, or could that be 4 or 5? I think, and really, honestly, the same with Vanderbilt for that matter, for different reasons. But I think the range of outcomes with both those teams, I think that both are going to be hosting the first weekend, and this weekend could have a lot to say for both of them about whether they host the second weekend.
Hey, Cinco de Mayo was yesterday, but mucho gracias, mi amigo. Great talking to you.
Always fun. Thanks for having me.
All right, the great Chris Lee, one more time on your TLD Logistics hotline. They're online at tldlogistics.com. Hold your phone calls because we're going to come back and we're going to visit with Allison O'Hada on the other side after this.
WJBE 1040 AM 99.7 FM. Translator W259AB. Powell, Knoxville.
It's the hottest postgame show on the planet. Garza Law. Fifth quarter fan reaction. Fan reaction. As soon as the final gun sounds, we're live.
Tony Basilio, and we've got Chad Stockton with FC Alliance. Chad,
Well, I'm up in Johnson City, Tennessee with our FC Alliance North location that we started this past fall. We are doing well. We kickstarted the spring season with games this past weekend, and we've got more games coming up the next few weeks. So we're excited about what the springtime holds for us. Our girls' ECNL is also into the middle of their spring season. They hosted a huge weekend this weekend coming from Pittsburgh and New York, the teams they hosted. Good results, hard teams they played all weekend long. We've got such a focus on skill development and focusing on what's the right way to play for our kids. As we continue to grow, we're expecting our programs to continue to grow like they have been the past few years. Our tryouts are coming up in late May. For the U12 and under, it's the middle of May, and then for the older kids, it'll be late May. But we're expecting to grow not only in Knoxville, but also in Johnson City.
And if you want more information, you can see what Chad's talking about and hear those kids and get involved. It's FCAllianceKnox.org. Again, FCAllianceKnox.org. Hey, Chad, thanks, man. Many happy returns, my brother.
Thank you, Tony.
Listen up, baseball fans. It's time to step up to the plate and get some new Tennessee gear from Alumni Hall. Don't you dare swing and miss by shopping elsewhere. Alumni Hall has the best selection, top brands for you to choose from. Shop in store, 3 Knoxville locations, or Bristol or Murfreesboro. Anytime, online, anywhere in the world at alumnihall.com. Come grab your Tennessee baseball jerseys. Incredible. Oh, Coach Vitello's jersey, hats, decals, t-shirts, and so much more. Earn $10 in rewards for every $150 spent. Shop Alumni Hall, your ultimate Tennessee shopping destination. Go Vols from Alumni Hall. Tony Basilio along with the great Mark Griffin. And we're here to talk about our friends at Performance Medicine. And Griff, their slogan, stay educated, stay healthy. That's you.
Wow, I really like to think that, Tony, and I'd like to give Dr. Rogers a lot of credit because I definitely want to stay educated and healthy, and knowing that he's putting the time and effort in to make sure of my care, I want to encourage your listeners to put the time to learn and become educated and get to know Dr. Rogers and see if it can help with your health as well.
And there's a really, really easy way to do that. In fact, they've got their own YouTube channel. You can see Dr. Rogers for himself with his staff. It's called The Performance Medicine Show over at the Performance Medicine channel over on YouTube. Also, more information at performancemedicine.net. To our friends in North Knoxville, a brand new location over in Fountain City, now accepting patients. So many ways to reach Dr. Rogers. And like they say, stay educated, stay healthy. Performance Medicine, online, performancemedicine.net. TB here for Cedar Bluff Plumbing, a live and local company that's been serving our area for over 32 years and counting because every customer counts, and I mean no job is too small. Cedar Bluff Plumbing just voted #1 by City View magazine because multiple plumbing experts are on call to serve all your plumbing needs. Chances are there'll be a plumber in your area when you call, and they won't send some salesman to your house. You're going to get a high character, trustworthy, highly trained plumber who will serve you. Not like some of these guys that look like they came off the set of America's Most Wanted. Cedar Bluff Plumbing is Basilio tested and approved and will go the extra mile for you because Chucky Mack is a servant of the people and my consigliere to the throne, celebrating over 32 years of serving living volunteers. Cedar Bluff Plumbing. Call 588-4448. That's 588-4448. Cedar Bluff Plumbing.
Yee-haw! I've been hooting and hollering ever since I started betting with the VIP Play app. VIP Play has more than 200 leagues, every bet type you can imagine, live betting and live hosts, all with 24/7 support from real live people when you need them. Start betting better with the VIP Play app today. Don't be a better, be a better with VIP Play today.
VIP Play coming soon. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-889-9789. Must be 21 plus and located in Tennessee to bet.
Attention Vol fans, are you tired of complicated, clunky fleet technology that makes your job harder? Say goodbye to frustration and hello to Connexial, your hometown partner in logistics. It's time to rev up your operations with next level fleet management from Connexial. Connexial is here to keep your business on track with technology that works as hard as you do. Our game-changing ELD gives you more than just hours of service. With AI-powered dash cameras and real-time asset tracking, You'll have eyes on the road, cargo, and your fleet from anywhere, anytime. And the best part, our friendly, U.S.-based customer support team is just one phone call away. No more long wait times or frustrating tech talk. Just real people with real solutions. With Connexial, you get a professional team you can trust and easy-to-use products that keep you on the road. What do you say, Tony?
I'm ready. Make the smart move and call Connexial today.
865-888-6920. Learn more at Connexial.com. That's Konexial.com. Drive life with Connexial and go Vols.
Jeff Hall here. I'm a partner at Rather and Kittrell Capital Management. Life is full of transitions. Planning for retirement, managing investments, or navigating major life changes. Here at Rather and Kittrell, we're here to guide you through every step. Visit rkcapital.com or call 865-218-8400 to start your journey toward financial clarity today. Rather and Kittrell is a registered investment advisor.
I got to say one word here before we get back and get our special guest in here, Allison O'Hada. Go to the blog today over at tclub.team. I want you to see something. You live around our area. We had Jim Wright on from Fish Hospitality Pantries. Your local letter carrier in the next couple days, and I'll be out at their kickoff tonight, but your local letter carrier is going to drop off these yellow bags. Please fill them with non-perishable canned goods, and preferably not beets, no offense. I know a lot of my neighbors are going to use this opportunity to get rid of their beets, but Jim was saying that canned meats, things like that, beans, things like that would really be terrific. But shout out to our letter carriers who are going to carry all this stuff this week, and they're excited to do it. And we're excited to go out there and do the kickoff tonight, which we're going to. But let me, without further ado, bring another bright light in our community in here. Allison O'Hada, who I was bragging on before with Lady Vol Tennis, and I was telling her that the great Ben Rogers, when she first got this gig, said, Tony, you're going to be visiting with her on the air because she's going to be doing a lot of great stuff. And every time we visit with you, Allison, you're always a bright light on here, and you got a great spirit about you, and I appreciate you joining on our TLD Logistics Hotline. As you guys swept Elon and Pepperdine, made it look easy over the weekend, 4-0. Was it that easy?
Gosh, first of all, thank you for having me. It's always good to be able to talk to you, and anytime we hear Ben Rogers' name, I'm always going to smile. That guy's a legend. No, it wasn't easy, but it did feel nice to have a quick break from SEC play. So the SEC definitely got us ready for this last weekend because Elon was good. They fought hard. Pepperdine was good. They played well and fought hard. But our team was ready.
We were talking with Chris Lee, Southeastern 16, before you jumped in with us in our last segment. And he said the truth is in all these sports now, because, Tennessee baseball has been uncharacteristically taking their lumps lately. And he said the league is harder than it's ever been after a basketball season where the league was harder than it's ever been. What about your league? You and I were talking off the air. What about the Southeastern Conference? Can you put it in perspective for us in women's tennis as well?
For sure. I mean, the number 1 and 2 teams in the country are also 1 and 2 in our conference. And a little perspective, a couple weeks ago, we were 10 in the country going into the SEC tournament, and we were the conference 7 seed. So I think that puts it in perspective right there.
Say that again. You were the 7th seed in the deal and 10 in the country.
7th best team in our conference going into the tournament, correct, and 10 in the country. And we had 7 losses this year, and all of them were the top 10 teams. So it has been unbelievably tough. And the SEC is always really good, but it's just been a gauntlet this year. And but it certainly prepared us. That's for sure. You don't have a chance to be injured. You don't have a chance to be tired, but you're going to get better every time you walk out on the tennis court.
And your deal is like a postseason sport, like a lot of these sports. It's a tournament sport at the end of the year, and it's interesting. It's an individual sport that's actually a great team sport when you get right down to it. And so from that perspective, how hard is it for you when you're guiding the ship to take your lumps and then look at your team afterwards and say, hey, we're still 10 in the country. Like, we're still going to have an opportunity at the end of this. How do you keep the ship from going off course?
Yeah, that's an excellent question, and I think one that that maybe changes a little bit every year. And the reason I say that is this year, one of our team goals that the girls put forth back in August was they wanted to be a top 10 team. They wanted to host the first couple rounds. They wanted to qualify for national indoors. And we've accomplished those goals, you know. And so as you accomplish them, you want to say this is an amazing season, and it is. But with that said, we took 7 losses to teams who are top 10 in the country, and all of whom we felt like we could have walked away on the other side of that match that day. And so it's tough to not get frustrated at times, because it's one thing when the team just straight up beats you. It's another thing when you feel like you maybe contributed to that loss. And in most of those, we felt like we contributed a little bit. And so even though it's been an outstanding year, you want to make sure you're steering that ship in a way that the team allows themselves the perspective of, okay, we are really good, but let's also make sure we keep working to get even better, because like you said, we've got an opportunity to be one of the best teams in the country, and I do think we are, but now we get an opportunity to go show it on the court. And in order to do that this time of year, you better make sure you're playing with confidence, and those losses have to lead to you being a better competitor, not a worse competitor. And that's definitely what's happened. So our team, I went to sleep. I came home and told Aaron, this is the best I've ever felt about our team all season. I just went to sleep both nights after we played, feeling like we get what's going on, and at every single spot we're competing. And man, I feel good about where we're at, and the team feels the same.
So you get a Virginia team that plays in a frou-frou country club setting, and we're going to bring our Tennessee ethos to them and sort of upset the apple cart. And I picture Rodney Dangerfield doing the triple Lindy off the diving board and all that stuff. So you saw Virginia earlier in the year. How is your club different from when you first saw them?
We are way more experienced than we were back in late January at National Indoors. We graduated 5 players last year, and our top 3 are the only 3 returners we have on the team. So we had 7 new players to the roster, all of whom are great people, hard workers. All of that's there, but the experience against a high-level opponent for the team as a whole was not there. And so even though we were having success early, we were having to learn a lot in so many situations. And now those 7 losses that we talked about earlier, they've actually made us so much better. So our team has experience now that we just didn't have 2.5 months ago. And we can thank our conference for that. We also have some clarity in the way each of our competing. So tactically, they understand exactly what they're trying to do. And I would say mostly we're healthy. That's something we did not have earlier this year as well. So we got quite a few things working in our favor right now.
Tell me about this Virginia club you're going to see. Obviously, they were number 1 in the for a decent part of the season. And my understanding is, as the season went along, because this league is so good by the power numbers, they just kind of fell. But it wasn't like they fell because they weren't playing well. They just fell because they don't have the schedule that these other teams have. Is that a proper read?
That's pretty accurate. Yeah, you've got Georgia and Texas A&M who are at 1 and 2, along with Virginia earlier this year, and Georgia and Texas A&M just keep getting more quality wins, basically just simply because of our conference. So Virginia's very good. They've got one of their better players. Her name is Chervensky. She's back in the lineup. She was out earlier this season. She'll be in it this year, playing at the 2 spot. And we'll have one of our players, Francesca Mattioli. She'll be in. And so it's a little bit different team for them and for us, and both probably better. They're a better version of themselves, I think, today, and we are as well. So, but they're good. I mean, they've got some of the best doubles teams in the country. They come out and expect to beat you every time they jump on the court. They're incredibly well coached. Both of their coaches had an amazing college career as well. So, like, they know what they're doing. They understand how they win matches, and they're good. Yeah, they really are. They're good.
Waco is the goal here, right? On both the men's side and the women's side, Waco is the goal. How did Waco become like the tennis capital of the world? What's Waco done?
Gosh, Waco had Oracle for a little while. The HP and then Oracle. They had Matt Knoll, Joey Scrivano. Those two. Ian McCaw is now the AD at Liberty. Those guys had a vision for the athletic department and the tennis programs, and between Joey and Matt, I'm pretty sure they won like 50 Big 12 titles. And yeah, but then they had Mark Hurd, is what I mean when I say Oracle and HP. So Mark Hurd was a huge sponsor, and he's passed away now, but he put in a lot of money into Baylor University and Baylor athletics, and his Paula Hurd, she's continuing to help out all across the board. So Baylor, they do an excellent job hosting, and I coached there for 6 years. Matthias, our associate head coach, he won a national championship when he was a player at Baylor. So we both have some Waco ties, and look forward to taking care of some business this weekend and hopefully seeing everybody in Waco.
Have a homecoming, huh?
Exactly.
Hey, best of luck to you. Anything else you'd care to add here on the way out? If folks want to follow the action, is that televised anywhere on Friday?
I'll make sure.
Or Saturday, I'm sorry. No, you're Friday. Friday at 4 Eastern Time.
We're Friday at 4, and Cracked Rackets will be streaming everything. So I'll make sure I get you that information.
Please do. I want to get it in the blog. Yeah, I want to get it in the blog.
That would be awesome. But man, I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you for shedding some light on our team. The girls have worked so hard, and our athletic department keeps just giving us all the resources possible for us to keep doing everything that we do every day. So just a big thank you for bringing me on air and giving me a chance to speak about my team.
Oh, thank you. You're such a. Anytime I have you on, you make me smile. You're my Ben Rogers. Because when I think of him, I don't smile, but when I think of you, I do.
I like it. I think of Ben and I smile though.
Thank you, Allison. Thank you. Have a great one. Good luck. Good luck Friday.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's interesting, the whole Waco thing. That reminds me of when my kid was at Penn. We walked into Drexel's gym one day, and they were having like the squash. Matt Dixon, picture this. They were having the squash world championships, and Tony Basilio was walking around in his leather coat and jeans in the squash world championships, Matt.
Was it 90 degrees outside when you were there?
It was warm. In the Drexel gym, it was in the spring.
And those people probably still make fun of you.
But the point is, they had somebody there in their school that prioritized that sport and loved that sport, kind of like what she was talking about with the Oracle people that decided, hey, we're going to champion tennis and make this the epicenter of tennis.
I should point out that neither Baylor's tennis teams are represented. They will not be there because their seasons are over. But they've had good teams recently.
That's kind of interesting, right?
Yeah.
That's interesting. So, Matt, does the appearance from, you tell me, Chris Lee's appearance, does it make us feel better? When he says, hey, for perspective, this league is brutal. It's brutally hard. Does it make you feel better, Matt? Does it give you some hope?
I mean, yeah, I still have hope because this team's talented enough to turn it around. But it's just such a grind that I do think once the team gets out of league play, maybe they can relax a little bit, even though it will be in the postseason. They might be able to relax and play looser and play their style more. That's certainly possible. And they're plenty talented enough to make a deep run. When you have a Liam Doyle who can go and can be sort of an automatic win when he pitches.
Bulldog.
That gives you such a huge advantage in these, little regionals, and especially in a super, if you could ever take game one. You just got to find a way to weather this ship, which it looks very hard right now with what 2 series you have left. You're really for the first time in a while, Tennessee's backs are against the wall. I guess really since the last time Vandy came to Knoxville 2 years ago.
You bring up Liam Doyle. Here's a guy that's a high pick in the draft. He could have told them Sunday, I'm not taking the ball. I don't know if you guys have thought about that. He could have said, no, I got hot Friday. I'm not doing that. Not only did he take the ball, but he took the ball with a freaking attitude that literally got him thrown out of the game, which I love him. I don't like Liam Doyle. And it isn't so much that he's so talented. I like the way that kid competes, man. That kid looks like the type of kid that if he was losing in checkers to you, Matt, he would take the board and flip it over on you. I love guys like that in sports.
Yes. I mean, you obviously don't want a guy like him getting ejected and suspended. You kind of got lucky. He was a reliever, which may be the only good thing that came out of the weekend. But it's hard to get upset with a guy, being emotional and standing up like that when the rest of the team, for the most part, has shown very little competitive fight.
That's exactly
for
right.
The last month. You really need more of that.
A great way of putting it. So we go back to our phone.
And you need to figure out to harness that into positive results on the field.
But Doyle set such a tone. Here's the thing Tennessee has. They've got 2 starting pitchers that are shoving right now. What's lost on the weekend is, because we're not hitting the ball, we left like 15 guys on base and Phillips start. These 2 guys are shoving right now. Literally shoving. And if you get those 2 guys pitching, the problem is, where's your swing and miss in your bullpen? That's a problem in the sport. You got to have some swing and miss out of your bullpen. Hello and welcome in on your TLD Logistics hotline. Hey, and our guy from Sevierville we had on the show a couple weeks ago absolutely shoved over the weekend. That Loy guy, his level of compete over the weekend was incredible. But you got to have some hitting here and a little fielding behind him. Hello and welcome in. You're on the air.
I would agree with you there. You don't get a lot of hits. You don't score a lot of runs. You don't win.
That's exactly right.
And that's a fact with my hand up.
You got that right, Billy. Breaking news.
Exactly. So I really do believe that right now there's a lot of wrinkles that Tony Vitello needs to iron out. And I believe he will. If not, I have my doubts that we are going to make it into the regional, and I have my doubts that we will make it into the College World Series. And that's also a fact with my hand up. I'm telling it like it is, my good friend.
Well, the numbers tell you that making a super regional after you win a national championship in this format, making a super regional is an accomplishment. I know people don't want to hear that, and people are like, Tony, what are you doing? Look, I just went back and looked at it last night out of curiosity, because you have to put these things in perspective. And the perspective is that if you get to a super regional after you won a national championship, especially with all this team lost last year. I mean, I'm talking about some guys whose names are going to be on the outfield wall one day. And that's just a stone cold truth. I don't care how much of a juggernaut you have. Hey, Matt, I don't care how much of a juggernaut this thing is and how incredible the Tony Vols era has been. We're all human. I mean, this was bound to happen, wasn't it?
Yeah, you're never going to continue winning at the clip you've won the last couple of years.
And the worst
how competitive the league is.
And Bill, the worst part, as one of the callers said, is the 20-0 start made people believe, oh, here we're going to ride the ride again. Where the truth is, in that sport, the ride we've taken in the last 5 years in that sport has been extraordinary. It doesn't happen anywhere. The last 5 years here, it doesn't happen anywhere.
Yeah. On another note, I was reading in my little newspaper, the comment that Tim Brando made on the SEC. We are no longer a dominant conference like we used to be.
Really? In what sport?
Football. Because let's face it, the last two national championships, what conference were they in?
Hey, Bill. I know, Bill, I know you originally come from Michigan, but the SEC is a better league than that league. Now, come on. Now, that team has some really good teams in it, but the SEC is a better league than the Big Ten year in and year out, Bill. Come on. But one thing is true. Brian and Matt, do you guys give me this? That the SEC and the Big Ten are going to lay right on top of each other going forward because of the money. Because of this NIL stuff and this revenue share stuff. The TV money and all that. Yes or no, Brian? What do you think?
The other leagues are going to struggle to even determine who's going to be in them.
That's exactly right.
Much less keep up with the SEC and the Big Ten.
Look, Huguenin told us that Florida State just lost a football recruit to Vanderbilt to show you where things are going. And why? Because Vanderbilt had money and Florida State doesn't. So that's the reality of where we are. And that's a fact with...
Your hand up.
Thank you. Bill, you're my man. You tell Tim Brando that he's smoking things from plants, at least, if he believes that.
Okay.
Bill, have you ever smoked anything from plants?
No, I haven't, and I don't intend to.
Maybe one night when you come over here, we'll roll one on my back porch. What do you think?
Forget it.
Thank you, brother.
Forget it.
You sound open-minded to it. On your TLD Logistics Hotline, Matt, would you like to see me under the influence of something from plants based on my conduct generally?
Absolutely, I would. Yes.
Back to the.
I'm for it.
Back to the. Shout out to my brother Steve. Let's hold right there with my next caller because you bow thy head when you say thy name, even though, and I don't forget, but I do forget, because my man Chris Woodruff, when I was down at Calhoun's on the river on Friday, kind of stood us up. But I love you, Woody. You're my guy. See? Now you're my guy because, and you know why you're my guy? Because
there's no telling. Hit me.
Well, for one thing, you've got an incredible way about you. And for another thing, your team did something over the weekend that the living fan will never, ever, ever forget. Now, you've been... How many times would you say in your life you've walked into a competitive venue in tennis? Would that number be in the hundreds, in the thousands? What would that number be?
Oh, in a competitive venue?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we're easily in the thousands.
Okay. How many days have you seen like what you witnessed Saturday?
Man, I was just trying to get my head around it and kind of get outside what happened in the tennis and kind of equate it to, okay, I watch a lot of sports.
Right.
And I've been in a lot of sports venues and I've seen a lot of sports things live.
Yes.
I mean, and I'm trying to think of the general fan, I think would appreciate what Tennessee did to Buffalo.
Well,
when they came back.
Yeah, here's my comparison. You tell me if I'm right. It's a football game, okay? You guys are down 49-14 at halftime. You have to come out in the second half and score every time you get the ball, and basically they have to go 3 and out. That's the only way you're winning. And you guys basically did it.
Yeah, and we had a guy who served for it twice on another court. I mean, it was just one of those things. I've had probably 90 texts, from various fans, and 2 things have stood out. One are the merchants of college tennis, which I thought was kind of cool, and then the other one said, "Jesus is watching over you." I mean,
it doesn't get any better than that.
That's it.
Doesn't get any better than that. Well, I mean, let's, as Chris Woodruff joins, and what we're talking about for the uninitiated is a real living, breathing sports miracle that occurred over the weekend. Now, the reason I asked Woody that question is he's played tennis all over the world. Every once in a while, you'll see a match where somebody goes down 0-5 in a set and comes back and wins. And that's pretty exemplary. That's breaking somebody several times back just to even just getting level, as they say in soccer. That's hard enough. But when you put it in the context of a team sport where you're down 0-3, where the next point wins, and you run the table to get to that point, and then in that deciding game, you're down 0-5. That is, I don't even know what the odd, you know that thing that ESPN does? Woody, because I know you watch all these sports. What do you think the win predictor, 99.9% for your opponent?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Easy.
Like 99.99%, right? I mean, the odds of that have to be astronomical.
Yeah. It was amazing. It was amazing. I've had so many people reach out who have seen it, just all over, from true tennis fans to just acquaintances. Everybody can understand that, if you follow tennis at all, and I'm sure a lot of people don't. If you're down 5-0, I mean, it's 5-0, bottom of the ninth, 2 outs. I mean, anywhere your head wants to go, just go to the most dramatic, and that's where you end up.
The thing that's interesting about your sport, too, is that when the thing I like about it, you and I have talked about this in the past, but as the other games end on the other courts, the kids gather around, and it becomes, how would you put this? It's almost like a tribal thing. It's almost like that old Oklahoma drill, where you got everybody watching in a circle. You got this team over here, you got this team over here. Kind of in your sport, everybody's kind of squawking at each other. You know, that whole thing. And it's 5-0. I mean, and
a couple people got tossed out.
Is that right? Is that right?
Match, yeah.
Is that right?
People got tossed.
Who got tossed? Tell me about it.
Some fans. I guess we had a fan or two get tossed out of there, which hadn't happened in a long time.
Your side or their side?
Our fan.
Did it bother you? Or were you for it in the moment?
I didn't even know about it until after.
Oh, that's funny.
To be honest, it's just at a tennis match, people have this image. You're exactly right. Tennis. I mean, first of all, it's a grueling sport. Go out there and run around after a ball with 20 seconds in between, and stay out in the hot sun for 2.5, 3 hours. Not easy to do. It's mentally taxing, physically taxing. It bears on the body. It's a really demanding sport. Really demanding. Way more so than people think.
Oh, it's just mentally. I mean, it's brutal, is what tennis. Tennis reminds me of like baseball and golf combined. Like, let's just take two brutally mental sports, put them together, because in a sense you're playing your opponent, but you're also playing yourself. And where that line is drawn, who knows? But every once in a while, you can do something that you didn't know was inside of you. The kid that comes back there, you think that kid knew, hey, this is inside of me? And did you know it in the moment? Did you think, hey, this is going to happen?
I have to say, it's at 5-0, I thought that probably not. I didn't say it was over, but I was obviously it was a pretty bleak situation. What gave me hope was when I saw the guy at 5-2, he was playing from Duke, he went to the pickle juice. And the pickle juice is a tennis player's, way to help fight cramps. There's a lot of salt in it, they pack it, and they take it, and it's a way to fight cramps. So at 5-2, I thought to myself, okay, if he's going to the pickle juice at 5-2, then something's not right, either physically, mentally. He's starting to feel something, and that gave us a little hope, And then I saw him start to crumble a little bit off his forehand side, and that really gave me hope. But I guess at 5-0, to answer your question, I was down and out. Down and out. And we still had to win. We still had to win at that point. I mean, there were 2 matches going on.
Right, concurrently.
We were down 3-0 in the third, and we had to win all 3 of them. I mean, it wasn't like if he comes back, we're out of the woods.
Oh, no, you need like a flush draw at some point. Like you're looking for a card combination that doesn't look like the cards are on the table, and all of a sudden, boom, 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 boom. That's wild, man. I mean, here's the thing, and you got Texas up next. How do you keep your kids mentally focused after a miracle, or do you lean into it and almost like whisper in their ears, hey guys, we're destined. We're going to do this. This is destiny. We owe these Texas guys. They got us last year. We can get them this year. We beat them earlier in the year. They beat us earlier in the year. Whatever. But hey, we're on a mission right now. Is that what you say, or do you not say anything after that game? How do you handle it, Chris?
No, we have to get back to work, right? We practiced today pretty tough. And one of the things that I've learned, and I mean, I hang out and talk to Coach Barnes a lot, and one of the things that I've learned from hanging around with him and, extensively 2 years ago, I went to about every basketball practice, literally every basketball practice, sat in every huddle, went in halftime in the locker room. I went on trips with him. When he would recruit, I would go with him and fly on this plane. I went on the scrimmages against when we played Gonzaga. And one of the things that I've noticed and learned from him is the approach never changes. He is exceptional at winning big games and losing big games. He doesn't get too mad. His emotions are pretty much the same regardless of the outcome. And I've learned to have a steady approach. And the good thing about a routine is if you do the routine, there are no surprises. Coaches have a routine that they trust, but most importantly, it's the players. The players believe in the system. And once you get the players buying in and they see that this stuff really works, that's when the magic happens. And we've been fortunate enough. It's a tough program to play for. I'm not going to lie. I can be an ornery, tough coach, but fair. And once those guys believe it, and we just kind of routines, we lifted weights this morning. We'll heart rate monitor run tomorrow before we get on the airplane. We wear a heart rate monitor. So we do all the things that we do. So it's not really that big a deal. And a lot of my guys are older. Some have played in this situation before, and they've been battle tested, which also helps. And then to top it off, this team is incredibly resilient. For those of you who follow tennis, we've, I think, won 8 3-all matches, which is unheard of. The deciding match is played at 3-all, and we've won 8 of them. So if that tells you anything, that kind of tells you how strong we are. We're a tough group, close group.
Tell me about this Texas club you're getting ready to face. Obviously, you've seen them. Obviously, we just had Allison on in the last block, and she was talking about, look, I mean, the league's insane, and it gets harder and harder, and in all these sports, it's getting harder and harder. Obviously, it's a meat grinder for you as well, and the big prize awaits at the end of the year, and here we are. Tell me about this Texas group, Chris.
High NIL value, incredibly high NIL. Start there.
Yep.
Compared to none for us. So, on paper, you would think they have big time players. They've got their transfers are one transfer won the national championship last year. My transfers are coming from Belmont and coming from Drexel. So on paper, good star power for Texas, but we're competitive, right? And we have a great shot, in my opinion. They won the league. We gave them their only loss in conference play was to us. We played tough we played them again in the conference tournament. Almost got them there within a week's span. But on paper, they're good, and they are good. They got the freshman of the year. He, I think, went undefeated in our conference. He's the best player in our conference. They got their number 2 guy who won the national championship at Texas Christian University last year. They're just star-studded. I mean, as a lot of Texas has the ability to do things. They're star-studded. and I'm fully expecting all players for Texas to show up. So they're very good, very well coached. Bruce, their coach, has been around a long time, done a great job, won a national championship as the third volunteer assistant, so he's been a part of it. So I'm expecting a good match.
Chris Woodruff, I'd expect nothing less out of you. You're absolutely the man. And I appreciate your time. Anybody else you'd care to shout out here on the way out? And go down there and bow up on those guys like you bowed up on Kirby Dumb several years ago down there at Georgia, because that'll never be forgotten by this living fan, I'm here to tell you.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And, it's always a pleasure to be on your show, Tony. And you do a great job, and hopefully we'll get this win against Texas, and you can ask me on again.
Well, here's the thing, Chris. Sometimes you appear and sometimes you don't. I mean, that's a problem. Do you like me pouting about it after your if I didn't bust your chops about it a little bit, I mean, come on. I wouldn't be being me right now. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, your son played college golf. You're used to mulligans, so give me one mulligan.
Hey, thanks, man. Good talking to you.
Okay, take care.
Hey,
see you, man.
Good luck to you. Good luck. And they play, and we'll have all this in the blog for you. But Brian Hartman, you were following that as they were coming back over the weekend. They play Saturday, 2 Eastern time down at Texas, and that'll be on that Crack Rackets thing as well. Hey, Bri, how about
I think it's at 1 p.m.
1 Eastern?
I think it's 1 is what I saw on the schedule, yes.
Okay, you sent me 2 Eastern. But anyway.
Yeah, it's 1
all
now.
right.
They must
1
have
Eastern.
changed it.
Okay, whatever. People know when they hear on this show, they know we're in generalities, right, Matt? They know to check their local listings when they're listening to this deal. Dixon, would you say that's kind of a fair and accurate statement?
Correct. You're just kind of a guess.
I'm getting in the book. I'm getting in
kind of like whatever radar Tony Vols looked at.
Second straight, Tony Vols caught. Do you think Tony Vols will be a guest weather person like they have these kids from local schools, Matt? Should he lean into that and be a guest weather person over there at WBIR?
That would be hilarious.
Darn
He'd
it!
probably be more accurate than some they've had over there.
Oh my gosh. Hey, don't rip my boy Todd Howe. That's my boy right there. That's my boy. That's Tony Vols. We have a window. We have a window. More on the other side. I'll get the calls in as we continue after this.
Guests appear on the TLD Logistics Hotline. Online at tldlogistics.com.
Hi, I'm Jim Simpson, owner of Simpson Meats. When's the last time you grilled a really good burger or steak? One your friends still talk about. Our goal at Simpson Meats is to make that happen every time you have a cookout. All of our cuts of meats, steaks, burgers, briskets, and pork are always fresh, flavorful, and sustainably sourced. We are family owned, so we know the importance of knowing how and where your food is raised. We have been putting quality first since 1888. Visit our butcher shop off Lovell Road or online at simpsonmeats.com.
Peace of mind is priceless, especially when it comes to your home safety and your family's comfort. That's why the pros at Pipe Wrench Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling created the Peace of Mind Maintenance Plan. Preventative maintenance for HVAC and plumbing is like changing your vehicle's oil, and experts recommend scheduling regular system checks to keep everything running smoothly. With Peace of Mind, you can safeguard your home from unexpected costly breakdowns and repairs. You'll get tons of benefits, including full system checks on HVAC and plumbing systems, water heater flushes, sewer camera inspection, 10% automatic discount on repairs, priority bookings, no service fees, and much more. Monthly service plans are as low as $20.25 per month, and total annual services are valued at over $1,500. Call Pipe Wrench at 865-264-8090 or book online at pipewrench.com to sign up or schedule your appointment today. And as always, same-day service guaranteed or the visit is free.
Life never stops moving. And between the 30-minute commutes, daycare pickups, weekly soccer practice, Tuesday night yoga, X number of coffee runs, and that weekend trip to Grandma's, you're racking up the miles. What you need is a tire that can keep up. A tire designed for doers. A tire that's going to last. Like the exceptionally long-lasting Michelin Defender tire. With an 80,000-mile warranty and the safety and comfort you expect, you can forget all about the miles ahead and focus on getting to your destination or conquering your to-do list. Fleet Tire, I-275 exit 1B at East Woodland Avenue in Knoxville. That's Fleet Tire, I-275 exit 1B at East Woodland Avenue in Knoxville. Fleet Tire. Basilio here for Budget Transmissions. TGMD, the great Matt Dixon, took his Ford Escape to budget, and like our gold bullet back in the day, it was a total mess. And now, Matt's back in the game. He's got a new transmission, axle, wheel bearing, both radiator hoses, engine mounts, coolant hoses. I mean, his Ford Escape was about to escape to the junkyard, but he didn't begrudge it. He took it to budget, and now he's on his way back to Omaha. Budget Transmissions, over 30 years in business, conveniently located in Bearden. All extended service contracts are honored. A gold certified Repair Pal member. 865-584-4391. 865-584-4391. Budget Transmissions. Don't begrudge it. Take it to budget.
Hi there, Basilio crew. Jennifer Morris here with Keller Williams Realty. If you're thinking about selling your home, I've got good news for you. The East Tennessee and Knoxville areas are projected to have another strong year. I'll be happy to talk with you about the latest and greatest info you need, so give me a call at 865-694-5904 or contact me at nextmovesmokymountains.com. Hope to hear from you soon, and go Vols.
Tony B here with the great Zakai Ziegler for
Hey, whoa. Tony, I got this. Hey, Tennessee, it's Easy here. Next time you have an electric issue at your home or business, call my friends at Advent Electric. With offices in Knoxville and Nashville, it's Mama's Easy approved.
You heard it from the most electrifying player in the league. Call the service professionals at Advent Electric, 865-588-0631. Online, adventelectric.com. Tell them ZZ sent you. Basilio here, and you know my friends at Carnes Motor Company started with a dream over a quarter century ago. I met Rob and Brian back when I still had hair, and they were working at a huge dealership in West Knoxville. But they told me back then they wanted to sell cars on their terms, and I wanted to do radio on my terms. Their terms, just like my terms, are ultimately your terms. In both cases, you're the winner. A Car Guru's National Award winner with a 5-star rating on all sites, just like our Vols. Everything about buying a car from Carnes Motor Company is no hassle. They specialize in high-quality pre-owned vehicles between the $5,000 to $25,000 range. And if you need to sell a car, they'll either buy your car or they'll help you sell it. Carnes Motor Company also has a top-notch service department. Therefore, every vehicle is rigorously inspected and serviced prior to delivery. So you're guaranteed to get a quality pre-owned vehicle every time. If you need a place for service, they've got you covered. Come be a part of the Carnes Motor Company family and tell them you heard about it from B. Online at carnesmotor.com. Oak Ridge Highway, 1 mile past the Carnes light. Carnes Motor Company. Basilio, and we're back with you on the one, the only. 865-200-5402 is the numero dos. If you want to get in with us, there's a couple lines available. We'd love to hear from you. We've really worn out our TLD Logistics hotline today. Now we'll get our TLD Logistics phone lines cranked up. I don't know how much of the program we're going to do going forward. Maybe we'll do a little TLD Logistics overdrive overtime if folks will call. In the meantime, I want to remind you, Garza Law extra innings will come your way after Sunday's game. We'll be live, Bino, myself, and a cast of thousands down at Calhoun's on the River on Friday. I was telling Matt, you know, the calls on the postgame show, from my perspective, and Sunday I couldn't even be down here because I was getting my procedure done on Monday, and I was all like drawn up. And The calls have been terrific on that post-game show. Like, I don't know if you've caught it, but I want to plug it. And the callers have not been reactionary or out of control, or I think they've been very, very, very intelligent. And one thing I want to highlight here before we go back to the phones, shout out to our baseball fans. Matt tells me a couple thousand or so folks were there Friday night in that driving rain in that first pitch. That is some serious, serious dedication to be out there in that weather. That is some serious dedication. So shout out to the fans for being there. Let's go back to our phones on the TLD Logistics phone line. Hi, you're on the air.
Tony, I think Coach Vitello probably needs to get a new phone number because it's obviously the window tip that he got must have been an Auburn meteorologist because there was no way at 8 o'clock on Friday night.
I love Tone.
I rolled into G16 about 7:40 and heard lightning or heard thunder, saw lightning. It was a monsoon. Proceeded to go into Lindsey Nelson Stadium thinking that we were wasting our time by walking in. We fully expected to have another delay. But I thought I was witnessing the old Doomsday in Knoxville because it was a fireworks show all over Lindsey Nelson Stadium. But unfortunately, it wasn't fireworks. It was lightning. I cannot believe they started that game. I was in Hattiesburg when we played Southern Miss, and I realize that's the NCAA controlling the weather. But
yeah.
I mean, we had games postponed. You heard no thunder, no rain, no lightning, no nothing. They found it on Doppler, but that was an atrocity Friday night. I don't know what Coach Tony Vols was thinking starting that game.
Yeah, and it was Tennessee's call. And look, I love Tony. He's my guy. You know that. But we got to call him like we see him here. That's just a straight-up mistake. And then the second mistake is, if you're going to do that, you can't start your starter. You got to start like a bullpen arm. Yeah, you do the opener. You reach back to Stamos the year before. That's so really you compound the thing. And I love T. He's my guy, but I'm on here. I call balls and strikes, man, and that was a wild pitch, way outside is what that was. And T, when Matt told me, and then I asked a couple other people, not that I didn't believe Matt, but I said, hey, describe the scene to me. And a guy I knew that was there said, Tony, there was lightning over the outfield, like lightning was popping. He said, I could not believe the umpires didn't stop the game. He said, I thought I was like living in a Twilight Zone or something.
Tony, your friend's 100% correct. I felt absolutely the same way. But yeah, that's a mistake. I'd love to hear him expound on why he was so insistent on starting that game because there was no way they were going to finish it. But he's not above reproach. He's outstanding. I want him to have a lifetime contract.
Hey, listen, I've invited him on. And I don't know if we're going to get him this week, but I can promise you if we do, I will ask him about that because I will do my job on here. I will absolutely do my job. I am not afraid to do my job, never have been.
No, I know you will. None of the media asked that question for some odd reason.
I will ask that question.
But here's the other thing, Tony. So you move forward to the suspended game restarting on Saturday,
yes.
And then that was January's. I think he was the crew chief, umpire, last name January. So he totally decided to postpone the start. Originally, it was an 11 a.m. start. Again, I was there. Weather was great. Best weather of the day was probably going to be from about 10 a.m. till about noon.
Right.
Yet miraculously, the umpire crew decided to push back that start originally tonight to 11:45 and then 11:35. Made no sense, Tony. No rain, no lightning, no thunder, no nothing.
That was really curious, T. That was the Saturday thing was really curious because it was clear, and then we got word that they were pushing it back. It made Again, I'm back to this, and hang right there. As we dismount on this Tuesday, I want to remind you, we're going to do some TLD Logistics Overdrive Overtime. As promised, that's where we break it down scientifically amongst ourselves over at tclub.team, so check us out there. Check out today's blog at tclub.team as well. We love you. We appreciate you. Peace and GBO.
WJBE 1040 AM 99.7 FM. Translator W259AB. Powell, Knoxville.
I tell you what, a weird weekend. A weird season, a weird weekend.
It's TLD Logistics Overdrive Overtime, presented by TLD Logistics. Online at tldlogistics.com.
These weather delays are always screwy, but...
And now let's go to the guys with today's edition of TLD Logistics Overdrive Overtime.
And I love Tony. He's my guy, but that felt pretty self-inflicted over the weekend. And then the umpire crew's decision, Taylor. So they have a window there on Saturday, and they're trying to get this thing in. And they've got a clear hour window as we're in TLD Logistics Overdrive Overtime. But let's delay it 45 minutes, basically, is what they did, right?
Yeah, they originally said they were going to start it at 11:45. And then all of a sudden they said, no, we're going to start at 11:35. I'm guessing the umpire crew got a lot of heat from UT on that delay, because when it was suspended after Bargo's home run, Tony Valls and, again, I think it's January, last name January, the umpire, had some words, and you could clearly hear January scream at Tony, point his fingers at him, and said, you're the reason why we started last night. And I couldn't hear the rest of it, but obviously Tony was giving him a hard time, likely for delaying the start of the game, or we would have never had the second delay. But anyway,
yeah, and I'll give you another little insight here. Frank Anderson was screaming at him, "Stop the game! Stop the game! Stop the game! Stop the game!" Before, who was the reliever guys that went out there and threw the last pitch? Was it Snead? And the ball got away from him and went like high and wide, and that's when they called it. Like he just kind of slipped off the mount. Frank was screaming at him, screaming. And he screamed back at Frank, I know what I'm doing. And then he called it after one pitch. So there's a whole lot of folks that got swept up in that weather over the weekend, including our guy Tony Valls. It was not his best moment.
Well, Ben Levin, the umpire for that had the horrendous strike zone that literally gave 3 inches below the knees, maybe 4 inches below the knees, low shins,
incredible.
And gave 3 inches outside. He made that 17-inch home plate into a 22-inch home plate, and it was literally, Tony, you've heard me call in. I don't criticize the umpires very, very infrequently. It literally seemed like the umpires, the home plate umpire, Ben, had a grudge against Tennessee, because usually they're pretty consistent, right? If they're calling the low outside corners, they're doing that consistently throughout the game. You got to adjust. I've tried to take my orange-colored glasses off, Tony. I didn't see too many low and outside calls for Tennessee when we were pitching, but sure enough, Inslee, Levi Clark, and others were the beneficiary of third strike calls that honestly, they couldn't even foul them off. They were just abysmal. And when Kendall Rogers chimes in about how horrible the home plate umpiring is, there's a problem.
Well, Will made a really good point on Sunday. Will and Matt were talking about it. And, Matt, let's talk about it here. Let's park on this for 1 second. Proof that you're just having a year and you're in a real tailspin here where you've lost, 3 out of 4 of these series have occurred at home in this stretch of lost series. They're not getting any calls in their building, Matt, and everybody in this league gets the strike zone when they're in their building. And this is just something that's been occurring, Matt. And look, people say, well, it's because the stadium doesn't have the bite to it. No. Matt, do you find Will Heflin's assessment that Tennessee's not getting any home cooking, where in this league generally strike zone wise, you've got to deal with it when you go on the road. But it's not happening in this league at home for us.
Yeah, I definitely think that Tennessee doesn't have any type of home field advantage with the umpires, which is typically the case. It does seem that way.
It feels more
especially
egregious
here recently with how much they're taking strike three looking.
Yep.
On pitches that aren't even really borderline, like Taylor's talking about. They weren't even borderline.
Ensley the other day was taking his guard off, and the guy goes strike three, and he goes, what? He just turns around, and I'll tell you how bad the guy behind home plate was. He was letting Tennessee players squawk at him, which usually Taylor is not put up with at any level. The guy knew he sucked the other day. It was almost like watching a college version of C.B. Buckner. And by the way, I'm not blaming the umpires for the loss because we can't bust a grape right now. And that has nothing to do with them. But the fact that that guy was so incompetent behind the plate, wow. Wow. C.B. Buckner thinks the guy was bad.
Yeah, he embarrassed himself. The whole crew was marginal and not a whole lot better the final game. But yeah, it wasn't why Tennessee lost the game by any stretch. I'll say this, and I'm curious on the way out what Matt and Tony, what you think about this. Maybe this is just me being too old school, but Tennessee was down 7-1 in the final game on Sunday. And I witnessed something that really, really ticked me off. And I'm not going to name the player, but it was there for the public to see. Down 7-1, bottom of the sixth, and there was a player on Tennessee who's on deck, laughing, joking it up with the MVP guy, and basically told him, if you down your beer, if you chug your beer, I'm going to hit a home run. Laughing it up, yucking it up, down 7-1. Again, maybe I'm just old school, but that didn't sit well with me. That gave me the vibes of, hey, I'm having a great year. This is my draft year. I'm having a great year. I don't really care what the team does as long as my stats are good. That's the way I took that, and I don't mean it was a quick little. It went on for a couple of minutes.
Oh man!
And you don't need that in your clubhouse, Tony. You don't. You need team first players. You don't need that crap. Tony, GBO, go Vols.
865-200-5402. Matt, if you witnessed something like that, would that bother you? Because obviously I have no way of corroborating whether or not that occurred.
Yeah, I would find that kind of odd, yeah.
Because that's not what Tony Voss signs up for.
That would be something you add to that lack of competitive fire the team has shown. That would kind of play into that. That's a really odd kind of deal there. Nope. I didn't witness that.
No.
I'm not going to doubt Taylor because that's pretty specific. So
knowing Tony Vitello, if he witnessed something like that, he would be jerking a knot in somebody's ass. I can promise you that. Because that's just not who they are. So, look, one of the great things about the sport, we've said it in the past, compared to some other sports, is you have that downtime where those outfielders can mess around with people in the and talk back and forth to people that are out in the outfield. And some of the guys on deck can kind of mix it up with some of these people that they get to know as they go. But that kind of thing is,
it sort of speaks to the lack of leadership
Yeah.
we've seen.
Yeah.
Or
yeah.
thought we've seen so far.
I didn't witness it, but that would feel like if Tony knew about that, and I'm not, because I don't know who was involved in it.
It's just another player that's being a leader knew about that.
Let me tell you, if
Tony wouldn't have to do anything.
Personally, if I witnessed something like that, I would share it with Tony. And he would freak out. But I didn't witness it, and I love you, Taylor, but I didn't witness it. And I'm not saying I don't believe it, but if I witnessed that, I would say, hey, T, this is going on, and he would freak. So, Taylor, you're not wrong in feeling that way. I don't think that's old school either. You want to do that in a practice game? Okay, fine. You want to do that in a scrimmage? Fine. You want to do that, you're beating somebody 25-1? Fine. You want to do that when you're down, what was the score? 7-1 or 7-2?
7-1.
Okay.
You're
in a stretch.
I mean, if you're going for a sweep in the series and you've won the first two, maybe. But since it's the rubber game and you're about to lose another series.
Yeah, that doesn't feel very serious. So, let me say this: VIP Play, the Eagles about to land. The VIP Play app is coming soon. Not available to the public yet, but man, VIP Play, Will Heflin was showing me some of these intricate specifications with the app, some of the things you're going to be able to do, and wow, this is really cool. Some great things are coming. 200 leagues to wager on. All your favorite types of bets. The term live now is used in that space, but how about live always? Because that's what you're going to be on VIP Play. They're also going to do Players Club sweepstakes. They're also going to do a welcome bonus for you to try the site. You bet $5 or more, you're going to get $100 in bonus bets instantly. And the other thing you're going to notice is that Will himself is going to be servicing a lot of these accounts, and so you'll get to know Will as well, because they're going to try harder. They want to earn your business and be the spot where you recreationally go and hang out and have fun watching these sports and do your thing. And that's what VIP Play is all about. The VIP Play app is coming soon to Tennessee exclusively. You'll earn your welcome bonus. It's all available for you. Go read more about it at VIPPlayApp.com. And if you have a gambling problem, 800-889-9789, 21 and over in the great state of Tennessee to place a bet. Let's go back to our phones. Look, I don't think the season's over, but I just doing the research, the conclusion I'm coming to that if this team, the way it's currently playing, with the deficiencies this team has shown here recently, if this team gets to a super regional, it's a great result. It's a great result. Tony, are you saying you don't think this team can get to a College World Series? I'm not saying that at all. I think anytime you take the field in baseball, like Chris Lee said, that the variance and the variables and the dumb luck and the crazy bounces, the thing I love about Tony down through the years of getting to know him is he was talking about Rick Barnes in March, and he said if anybody deserves a bounce like the one we got about against Florida State last year, this was at the outset of the NCAA tournament, he said it's that guy. He said, look, if we didn't get that lucky bounce against Florida State, we don't win it last year. It's the truth. It's a stone cold truth. Now, what do they say about luck? It's where opportunity meets preparation. A wise man once said that. Butch Jones had a bunch of sayings that were for absolute shit. That's a great saying. Luck where opportunity meets preparation. Still got to be prepared. Still got to walk through the door. If somebody creates luck for you, especially in that sport, you still have to finish. That was a wild... I don't think I'll ever forget that game as long as I live. That was a wild game that night. Just wild. Let's go back to our phones. On your TLD Logistics hotline, hello and welcome in. You're on the air on our TLD Logistics Overdrive Overtime. Hi.
Hey, Tony, Matt, Brian, how you guys doing?
Hey, Greg, welcome in, buddy. Hope you're well.
I hope you are, too. Great to talk to you guys again. Couple of things, guys. The umpires this past weekend, they were sent to the defending national champions home spot. And the previous caller, I really enjoyed hearing what he had to say. I loved every second of his call. The thing about it is, when you have a lightning flash, it's a 30-minute delay, no matter what. And I'm hearing today that people were saying the lightning was flashing beyond the outfield wall. I can't believe it. you got 4 guys umpiring this game, and nobody stepped up. I mean, that tells me a lot about those guys. They sent that bunch to Tennessee. That tells me a lot about the SEC as well. They don't want Tennessee to go further. They want somebody else to have the opportunity for some reason. I don't know why. I can see it in every game I've watched. There's been a lot of bad calls being made against Tennessee. This past weekend was the worst I've ever seen, just like the other gentleman said. I've done a lot of games in my life. I've watched a lot of games in my life. And the strike zone at the ankles, I mean, unbelievable. And then a couple of balls that our guys threw in there were right there at the corner and never were called.
And that was Tony's point.
Player,
yeah, Tony was freaking out over, look, if you're going to call that, you got to. He was screaming at the guy both ways, which I'm not an umpire ripper, but that crew over the weekend was really bad. But Tennessee was equally bad.
That, they didn't get a bad call when Blake Burke held up his swing.
Well, that's
they got
right.
the call then.
Yeah, you got to have.
So
look,
it evens itself out.
Sure, it does. Greg, I don't buy the conspiratorial stuff that they're against the Vols. I think that at the end of the day, it's magnified, though, when you can't bust a grape the way we are right now, because that's the last thing we need.
Well, you know, baseball is the game we're watching. It humbles you more than you accomplish.
Oh, it's awful.
Things great in that sport. I mean, you think you've got something going, and all of a sudden it shows you different. You don't have it. You got to keep playing the baseball like you're taught to play. And Tennessee's hitters, and also the switch hitting during the bat, they had to get together, the umpires, and discuss that. That tells me a lot about them as well. They can do that every damn pitch if they want to.
How about Peebles,
There's
Matt?
no rule against it.
How about
guys didn't even know that?
How about Peebles, Matt, getting a hit there after doing that, which you rarely see. You rarely see somebody turn around after a pitch, and he turned around and put a ball in play there and actually got a hit it where they weren't.
Yeah, and one thing about our hitters, those guys that got to go up there with a clear mind, can't be thinking, just play the game. And we've got we got to realize we've got to have guys on the base pads to score. And when you're trying, and I've heard, I think last year before last, we talked about it at one time, those hitters, what do you do when you get up there? I swing as hard as I can. Well, sometimes you got to back off of that, shorten up your swing. Auburn did that. A few guys shortened up their swing, got some hits, got some runs. We're trying to kill the damn ball every time they hit it, and they're not playing the game of baseball like it should be played. Sometimes as a hitter, you got 13 home runs. Well, it's not going your way the last 4 at-bats or whatever. You've got to shorten up your swing. You've got to try to get on base, not try to make it a score, not try to hit one over. And
Greg, the other thing about the Vols right now is that it's going so poorly for them. We talked about this earlier, but a guy like Ensley hits a ball in the gap, and he's out. Matt, what happened on that play? I've been meaning to ask you about this. He hits the ball in the gap, and he's out at second base by 10 feet. Now, I know he's not the fastest guy in the world. Did he get caught watching that, Matt? What happened there? What did you think happened on that play?
I didn't follow Inslee on the play, and I meant to look back. I do think the center fielder made a great play. He tracked the ball down before it got to the wall, and I think he threw a one-hopper to second.
It was
that gunned him. It was a great defensive play, but still, you would like to think that he should have gotten there. But it was a good defensive play.
And then we had a couple balls, Matt, that should have been triples that were doubles. I mean, it's just how it's going. And then running into outs, and then the whole thing, Greg, is just like it's just it's been very strange. Like we're in the Twilight Zone or something. Really strange.
You know, it has looked like that, Tony, but it can turn on a dime. And I'm going to see what they do against Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt will be a pretty dang good team, probably a little better, in my opinion, than Auburn, but on who they have pitching. But the thing about it is they just have to play the game. Wipe everything that's happened to them up until now. Wipe it away. Forget about it. Go out there and play your game that you know you can play and just settle down and put the nose to the grindstone. I think it can change this weekend, and they can get on a little bit of a groove towards the postseason. But you got to do it. I mean, it's just you got to make a change. You got to realize what you're doing wrong, and you got to try to do it for your team, and not just me trying to hit one out.
Greg, thank you. Great call from you on the TLD Logistics phone line. It's always good to hear from Greg on TLD Logistics Overdrive Overtime. They're online at tldlogistics.com for all your shipping needs. You know the thing that scares me about Vanderbilt, we're talking to Chris Lee, these teams that play the inside game, that put the ball in play, put pressure on your infielders. I shouldn't feel this way because generally if we're playing guerrilla ball, you just go in there and smash those teams. But with every run right now being at a premium, every defensive lapse is magnified. And these put the ball in play teams, Matt, scare me. Get on base, run around, make things happen. I should not feel that way. I was afraid of the Kentucky series. I was telling these guys off the air. I was afraid of that series. I don't trust us on the infield. Now, I know we're better now because they've made some moves. What do you guys think? Am I overreacting to that, or is that a fair read on this thing a couple days out from the series?
Yeah, margin for error has dropped significantly, and when you can't mash like they've been able to mash, one mistake can cost you a game if it's close. And this team can't get much separation, and they can't really show an ability to come from behind either.
And Vandy's gonna play the inside game, but the other thing about Vandy that scares me is late in that game.
Vandy came from behind. They showed they could come from behind.
Well, late in the game the other day, they used a long ball to come from behind, and they're building. Now, granted, it's Alabama, but still, Alabama, you know, they're one of these teams. Vaughn and those, that squad he has, they get in the postseason. They're capable of getting a super and making something happen. Matt, is my read wrong on that these inside teams scare me?
No, they should, because you give teams extra outs and free bases, and the teams in the SEC are more than good enough to make you pay for it. I think Auburn had 2 runs score in one inning where a ball never left the infield between walks and wild pitches and stolen bases. And that's stuff that you just can't give up. And you especially can't give it up when, like Brian said, you're not scoring runs.
Cinco, yeah. You weren't listening, Matt, but Cinco, because you were still doing your post game duties, Cinco had a really good call to Will Heflin the other day on the Garza Law extra innings, which comes your way as soon as Sunday's game is over. And he said, to me it summed up this way. Peebles threw 2 guys out. The same guy. He got him at second, and the tag was missed. That's an out. He should have gotten him there. Just tuck him high. It happens. I played second base, whatever. That kind of thing's going to happen. And then at third, Marin's feet, he was out of position to apply the tag. That's what happened there. That's just again, that's a college baseball, imperfections of the sport thing that you see. Both times the throw is right there. Both times that throw is plenty good enough to get the guy. That's 2 outs. And then what happens? pass ball on him, and a run scores. A guy he had just thrown out twice. Am I stretching that, Matt, to say that he threw that guy out twice? And then he makes a pass ball, and the guy scores. That is totally Tennessee's losing streak right now, or this thing they're in, this funk they're in.
No, yeah, exactly. And you had what could have been the potential winning run in the game two, got on with you had the ground ball to Curley that you had the bad throw on. So it's just all combining together makes it really, really tough to win, especially when you're not hitting home runs. So it's, I don't know how you solve it, because the stuff about the free bases, that's just kind of what they do.
It's cooked, yeah.
But the pitching hasn't been good enough. Especially we've talked about, you can't get swing and misses, so balls are always in play, and that just the likelihood of you executing feels like it keeps diminishing each weekend, because you almost feel like a couple of errors are inevitable.
And the most worrisome thing about all this is, like, Indiana State's in town tonight, okay? Go out and put 25 runs on the board, please. Blow them out, please.
Do you think they could do that in 3 games? The way they're going?
Brian, they have not been even hitting the ball in these midweek games. I mean, we need to call this what it is. They're not hitting the baseball in these midweek games, let alone league competition. What was the score the other night, in the midweek game, Matt, last week?
Was it
7-5?
7-5. They had to throw two of their frontline serious arms to get out of that game with a win. I mean, it is what it is. They're just not executing. Back to the phones we go. And really, that's kind of been, again, that's a telltale sign of where we are. Like Greg said, you can snap out of it tomorrow. Hey, Texas A&M hit the switch. They're 7-5 since getting swept here. I don't know what or getting beat on that Friday night. Do you guys remember offhand what their record was in the league after that Friday game, Matt?
I think they had one.
They were 1-9, and Tennessee was 9-1.
And they're 7-5 since then. And in that 5,
take out getting swept at Texas, where they were in all 3 games.
All 3 games. 3 close losses.
Take away that, and they're as hot as anybody in the league right now.
Yep. And I looked it up, they've got Missouri this weekend, and they finish at Georgia. So they're fixing to put up a pretty good number. Back to the phones we go. Hello and welcome in. You're on our TLD Logistics Overdrive Overtime High.
Hey, what's up, Tony? Joshy.
Hey, Wingzo.
You know what pisses me off, Tony? People are criticizing Matt Olson for running around an inside park home run last night from the guy from the Reds getting hurt. And were they criticizing when Acuna got hurt last year tearing his ACL? They tagged him out. Then against the Marlins, the first time he tore his ACL, Jazz Chisholm was running around home for an inside the park home run. No. So I don't think Matt Olson should be criticized.
What's the beef with Matt Olson? Explain it to me. He's making
this guy from the Reds ran into the wall.
Right.
Olson hit a fly ball to left field. The guy ran into the wall, got hurt, and Olson ran around for inside park home run.
Yeah,
this was last night.
The kid that gruesomely shattered his elbow.
Yeah.
Did you guys see that, Brian or Matt? Did you guys see that?
I did not.
Matt, did you see the play?
I didn't actually watch the video. I just saw a few tweets about it.
I would encourage you guys to not look at it.
Yeah.
And I would encourage anybody listening to me that's kind of squeamish not to look at that. I saw the thing. Look, in baseball, when you hit that ball down the left field line and the guy crashes into the wall trying to make the play, I think it's okay to finish the play and score an inside the park home run. I don't think you owe your opponent. I think you play the play out. Brian, what do you say to that? I don't criticize that. Brian, what do you say?
I think you got to play hard. You got to play hard. If you can score and get as far as you can on the base pass, you got to do that.
Yeah. Now, if I know you have a gruesome injury, I mean, I'll tell you a quick story. I was at
you don't know. You don't know that while you're trying to run.
I was at a game in I was at a game in the old Veterans Stadium in Philadelphia. It's the Phillies and Cubs. I'll never forget this. It was like a warm July night, and it was just any of a myriad of games we went to as kids, living kind of near the stadium, and balls hit in the gap. Okay, center fielder and the right fielder collide, and I mean hit head on. Both guys go down. And Bob Dernier circled the bases for the Phillies. It was like in 1982. He runs, or maybe 81. He runs around the bases and scores an inside the park home run. One of the guys they had to help off the field with a stretcher. They had to carry him off the field. He was knocked out cold. Now, is he supposed to stop at third base? I mean, the two guys collided. You put the ball in play, the two guys... Yeah, I got no problem with that.
Yeah, you finished the play out.
Yeah, so were they? Were people online? Were people online criticizing Olsen for that?
Yeah, people on Twitter criticizing Olsen for that.
That's odd, man.
Yeah. So, does an inside park home run, does that count technically as a home run or no?
Absolutely, that's a home run.
Oh, okay. So, Tony, my thoughts on the series this week against Auburn. So. Oh, go ahead.
No, it is a home run, Brian. Just like, at the end of the year, if Olsen ends up with 40 home runs or 39, and needs that one more for a home run, the inside the park home run counts as a home run. But go ahead. Gotcha. I'm sorry.
But my thoughts on this week, the series against Auburn. Thank God for Dalton Bargo tying the game and sending the game to extras, and
Amen.
We go on winning that game. If that doesn't happen, we get swept by this Auburn bunch.
No question. Hey, Matt, he's right. If Bargo doesn't tie that game there, Tennessee comes out Sunday and gets beat. I think we could say that with a straight face, couldn't we, Matt?
Yeah, absolutely.
So
I have no reason to think they win. 'Cause, he had the home run to tie it. He also had a sac fly earlier in the game, and he had that sac bunt in the 11th that moved the two runners to scoring position. So he was just really solid all around. He was probably, without question, I think he's your MVP from a weekend that you'd like to forget.
I think from your position players right now, he's your MVP on the season.
Oh yeah,
Fisher is your. I'm sorry, but the
Inslee or Bargo, yeah.
Yeah, but the obviously your Friday night starters, your MVP of your team so far. But those two guys are. It's good to give Inslee a shout out. You're right.
Hey Tony, how come you can't have any consistent umpiring in college baseball? I know it's really hard to get guys to umpire and stuff. It's not like MLB, obviously, but how come you can't consistently get good umpiring in college baseball?
I don't know. But you know what it makes you appreciate is how good those guys at the major league level really are.
Yeah.
There was a guy that called the Phillies game Saturday night, and I forget his name. I should have it. Over the couple hundred pitches he saw, Josh, he missed one call.
Wow.
Unzo, like 99.9%. Or might have missed two, but still.
That's pretty good.
It was crazy how good this guy's strike zone was.
Yeah. I agree with that, Tom.
Are you for or against automizing? What's the term I'm trying to come up with here? The robo umpires. Are you for it or against it?
I'm for it. What about you?
I don't know.
You for it?
I don't know, man. Brian, what do you think? For it or against it?
I am nay. No.
How about you, Matt?
I've been no for a long time because I think there's some beauty in, having catchers, frame games and things like that. I think that's an art that should still be kind of rewarded, but it's getting harder and harder to justify. So I would still lean no, but I wouldn't be very much opposed to it.
The one thing that would make me in favor of it is if the home plate umpire looked like C-3PO from Star Wars,
yeah,
I'd be in favor of it. If you had
that's what I thought.
If you had because they have this thing now, Bri, this
R2D2.
That's what I meant. R2D2, not C-3PO.
C-3PO too, both of them.
R2D2 is my. I said R2D2 is my guy.
Would a robot umpire have started Friday night's game?
Not R2D2, maybe C-3PO.
Yeah.
Have a baseball.
Tony, on the way out, Tony.
Yes.
Do you think this week in the series against Vandy, is there any chance Tony Valls makes some changes in the lineup?
Matt Dixon, what do you think on the way out here? Great call, Josh.
Like significant changes, I would say no. I don't know what you could do.
What can you do
at this point? I mean, you've kind of got a revolving door there with third and DH in left field. Kind of do a matchup deal. I wouldn't mind seeing Newstrom in the lineup, him and Levi Clark. But there's really not a whole lot that I think you could do if you wanted to mix up the batting order. I don't know. I know Keelan didn't have a great weekend.
You can't go off him, though. But you can't go off him. Right.
Just a 3-game deal. Maybe you put him back at second and move Curley back up. I don't know. There's not a whole lot you can do, Ross, position player wise.
The poor Curley guy, man, he is in a funk. I mean, he
needs somebody to groove him a fastball in the worst way. Give him one right down the middle.
Like tonight. A cookie or two. I think tonight they got to score 25 runs, Matt. I'm not kidding. I'm really serious. Like tonight, I want to see them just rip the ball apart. Let's get back.
That would be nice.
Feeling it in front of somebody here.
Yep.
But what kind of club do the Sycamores have besides being the school that gave us Larry Bird?
Yeah, the past 2 years they've won 40+ games, and I think 2 years ago they actually hosted a regional.
That's right.
So they've been a really good mid-major team, or I guess low major for them. But they lost a bunch of guys. Their best player, I think, was their catcher, who is at LSU now. So they're a little bit under 500 right now. So they're just kind of a shell of what they have been. But I'm kind of curious to see how Tennessee responds tonight. Who knows?
Well, let's hope. I mean, offensively, let's hope the Vols click.
Yeah, you need to wake up the bats somehow.
Matt and Bri, thank you. Incredible job by both of you. Great job. Till we meet again, I want to thank my friends at TLD Logistics. They're online at tldlogistics.com. Check out Matt's work today over at tclub.team because he did great work. Tomorrow, I'm going to have a full breakdown for you of how history says that this was going to happen to Tennessee. And I'm not trying to make excuses for him, but the history of that sport says that when you win a national championship the next year you're lucky if you qualify for the tournament, you're lucky. And if you get to a super regional, you're in the upper 75%. You'll see I'll show the work tomorrow and then we'll talk about it. But in the meantime, I want to thank Bri. I want to thank Matt. It's a great job by both. And I really appreciate you being with us. Spread the word, Thunderbird, for us. Subscribe if you're listening to us. Go over to our YouTube channel and subscribe. Because when we go live with our post-game stuff, you'll get a notification. If I do special programming from here on out, like say something happens and we're live, and I'll tell you what's cool about the YouTube format. Last night when the Flyers lost the lost the lottery. They needed a 4 or a damn 6 to come up in these ping pong balls. And a damn 13 came up, which is the most ridiculous, absurd. They went from having the first pick to the 6th pick. They had the highest odds coming back from the commercial break to get the first pick. And then they ended up at 6. And the Islanders went from like 11 to 1 or some crazy thing like that. I mean, it just... I feel like I was watching Tennessee baseball again. Like, what are we doing here? Love you. Appreciate you. Love you. Love your show. G to the B to the O. Thank Matt Dixon. And thank you to B No. Love you. Peace. I just cannot believe that lottery last night. Now, unlike the NBA, they actually show their work. In the NHL, they put the ping pong balls in the hopper and they pull them out. But what's got me feeling suspicious here is that the Islanders spent the day, along with the governor of the state of New York, ripping the NHL for pulling the All-Star game out of there 2 years from now. And somehow the Islanders go from having just a very slim chance. They were like 11th. And they jumped up and got that pick. Funny how that happens, doesn't it? Not that I believe in conspiracies, but I believe in love. Girl, I believe in you. The things you do. But it was a fun program today. I came hard after my colonoscopy. I would encourage anybody to get one. Preventative medicine is great medicine. Oh, man. Till we meet again, I love you. Brian Salvage, love you, brother. Let's do this thing, shall we? Here's today's run back. Here's a run back of perfection today. Those two tennis coaches were really good. That was really fun visiting with them.
WJBE 1040 AM 99.7 FM.
Let's get
W259AB. Powell, Knoxville.
Let's get fired up. Tony Basilio, welcome you to another edition. Let's get fired up. Fired up. Tony Basilio back with you. Day after having my colonoscopy. I'd recommend that for anybody. It's preventative health. And it's not very pleasant, but yet it's extremely necessary. And I'm fired up. And folks, I want to personally thank Bino Jeff Henderson. Yesterday was literally and figuratively kind of a crappy day, you know. And why am I so demented when it